How's everybody doing? Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me? How are we doing today? Looks like no. There we go. We got one person watching now. Sorry we had some technical difficulties, but we're doing better now. We've been moving equipment around in the studio, and so there's been a little bit of a disarray with some of the equipment and things going on. So we're kind of getting back into the groove here. What is going on? Can you guys hear me? Looks like we only got one person here. Can you hear me? We lost audio on the last live. We had to restart OBS. What's going on? How we doing? All right, good. Glad you can hear. Welcome, welcome. We're finally back. Finally back. It was a long, grueling weekend working in the studio, but we are back, baby. And I have great news. The studio is near completion. I'm thinking by 1 week from now, on Monday, after the weekend, we will be in the studio 100%, and the cameras will be on, baby. You'll be able to see my beautiful face. It's going to be awesome. So all that is coming. All that is coming. How's everybody doing today? We got a lot of news to cover. Some cool little rabbit holes to jump down into. And we also have some predictions coming for the market here. Let me tell you, the markets are not looking good. We did not break through this resistance line here, which means that we are headed down. We're headed down, and I think we're going to see that 105 range soon. What's up, Ozzy Nate? How's it going? So this head and shoulders played out. I was hoping to get a little bit of a pump. I was like, oh, Sunday, we'll probably pump out of here just a little bit, just enough to be a bull trap and be done. But we didn't get any good news. We didn't get anything really substantial. Cutting down interest rates May 7th, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't. And I think that's part of why we didn't get a push here. The unemployment rate is down a little bit, but I still don't see it as that's what's happening. Inflation's way too high. Inflation's too high. And remember, the Federal Reserve is not a federal entity. It is a private institution, and they make their own rules. So this head and shoulders, man, it played out not as beautifully as I hoped. I was hoping to get another push up to at least 225 on Sunday, but it did not do it. It came here, it touched resistance, and it shot down. Just completely fell short of it. And the candle closed way down here. And we got more room to go down. I'm thinking today's candle should close about 108, 109. We'll have to keep an eye on it. While we're watching today, the day candle should be closing during the show. So we should get a bit of a drop while we're watching. So as you can see, we're falling away in the 1 minute, falling away from that line, which is all the way up here. It's just so far now, it's not even within sight. When do I expect a bull run? I mean, technically we're in a bull run, but another big push, I would say probably July or August, and that would be our buy-in time, would be July or August. But this is headed down, and we should be retesting about 212 to 211 here soon, and more than likely we're going to drop even lower, bringing us to about 210. It could very well pick up from here a little bit before it does that, but we're losing steam quickly. We had this big heavy drop, we got some price correction here, another drop, double bottom with another push up here, and now we're falling again. And I would expect us to see another move like this down here, which would bring us into about that 208 zone. Let's move into another time frame. Look at that. That is nasty. That is one nasty fall off, and it's getting more volatile as it falls, because we've been in consolidation right here, moving down this, waiting for either a breakout or to fall down. And here we are, we're falling down. We had a drop down here to 213, it looks like, and then back up to 219, and then it just dumped. And I would say more than likely we've got another move downward, and this head and shoulders played out. We have a little shoulder. I was hoping to get another pump out of here to form that shoulder a little bit more evenly, but the resistance here was just too much resistance. It couldn't break it. So more than likely we're not going to see those higher numbers. We're going to see the lower ones. So let's go back into the day. Based off of that, see right here, this could be another head and shoulders formation. I know it seems redundant, but it's a very common pattern. We fall down here, hit resistance again, and then fall. And that's probably likely what's going to happen. This would be our shoulder right here. This head and shoulders that's playing out right now would be our head of an even bigger head and shoulders, which looks probably something like this one here. So more than likely we're going to drop down here a little bit more to about 208, come back up to about 218, I would say 215, and then drop from there, and then that would be another head and shoulders. So it looks like lower prices are in the future. I'm thinking somewhere between 155 and even that 162 zone. That 162 zone could come down to right about there and see some price correction, you know, to about like 180 and then fall again. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that. There could be another, like a move in between. So we'll keep an eye on that. But more than likely, we're headed down to at least, I would say, 155. And it could be much lower. If we come down here and we waterfall and we come to test this line, that would put, let's see, that would put us at about 130. 125 to 130, guys. That is incredible. That is a huge drop. However, with a big drop like that always comes price correction, and it will move up again after that. But I think overall what we're seeing is the crash. It's a steady downward movement. So I would say that once we hit, if we do hit 125 or even lower, when we come back up, that would put us at about 175 for our next top before we're trying to break through this resistance. So we'll have to keep an eye on it. Mind you, this is months from now. Many, many days. Each one of these candles is 1 day. It took how many candles here? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So like 30 days, a month or more. So I'm thinking like a month and a half, and that would be primed to line up exactly with this bull run right here, where we hit the bottom here at about June and July. So this was June 23rd. This is July 21st. And that would be, either one of those would be our entry point. I would say June, buy a little bit, and in July, buy a little bit. And hopefully catch another little pump here, which we should see. I think we're going to see something like this. And because it's a bearish dip like this, it will look like a cup and handle. A lot of people will FOMO in, and we will get a bit of a handle and a bit of a push and then fall short. Because this is a bearish move into a cup and handle, not a bullish. Now, this is a bullish push right here, but all this consolidation right here kind of cancels that out, especially with this 50% or more price correction before the cup formed. So I would speculate that we will form something very similar to the way this looks right here. And what will happen is it'll come down here, and we will be buying these lower zones on the way down. I believe that we're about right here. We're about or somewhere along here, and we're looking for the next big drop down. Somewhere in this area is where we're at right now. And I think we're moving into capitulation. And if you know anything about the crypto cycle, let's see if I can pull it up here. Where is that? I have so many what do you call them, programs and things on the computer now. When I first got everything, there was only just a few little things. Here we go. I think we found it here. But I have like all the lives downloaded on everything, and let me see, maybe I can search it. No. Cycle. Aha! Found it. There it is. So I think we had the bull trap, we had the return to normal, and the fear is setting in because of the tariffs, and that is moving us into capitulation. And after capitulation comes despair, and that's where we're going to catch that. Okay. And I believe you see this line right here. It says mean. This is the mean line right here. Okay. That I'm thinking is at about 75 cents. 75 cents is that mean number. It could be $1 to like $1.20. We will see. But it just depends on what kinds of craziness comes out what kind of news comes out, how far we're going to fall. If we do fall, we could get some crazy bullish news too, but nothing has been any good. We had a few pushes up because of speculation about the closed door meeting with Ripple and the SEC, but nothing came about of it. Nothing was dropped. So because of that, we're seeing this downward movement. And I was in hopes that because of the closed door meeting, we were going to get that push up. I was thinking that we should have moved up out of here just at least to 225, maybe even 230. But that didn't happen. We got bummer news, and the news is moving everything. And there is no good news happening right now. Hello, someone told me XRP to 150, and yeah, definitely. I think maybe even lower, but probably like 155, 150. We're going to have to wait and see. This one's a little bit harder to call. Obviously, I called 163 months in advance, and I would say that this one is about a month or so in the future from now where we would see that. However, I think we'll probably see 162 to 155 with a bounce up correction to 175 and then back down again, probably to, I would say, going based off of these candles. And mind you guys, I do not use indicators. I use the candles, and that's how I get such accurate results. So 155 is right here where these candles meet in the top of this line. And I believe that's where we'll meet the first little touch. And that, see, right here was 163, right? And the next one would be 155. And I think we'll hit that and we'll bounce up, but then we'll fall into this next zone, which would probably be 150 or even lower. I would say that it would bring us to like 145. But even as low as 135 to the bottom of these, this is going to be a strong support area. The lowest it could possibly go before heading back up to the blue line. And I think there is a chance, and a high, I wouldn't even say a chance, a high probability that we break out from the downward trend, these blue bearish trend lines, that we break out after this next move down, that it would show a bull push from that zone of like I would say probably 145 to 125, wherever it may land, all the way up to at least $3, maybe 280. But I'm thinking $3. And depending on what we form in that area, what type of pattern it forms will tell us whether we're coming back down again from there, or if we're going to see the crazy bull push all the way up to $5. And I think that could happen. I think it's actually pretty likely. I think it's speculative. Okay, it's speculative, but we also have the news backing us, ETFs, the case being dropped, regulation, all those things at first will cause big pump movements. Even the CME futures caused a pump, even though all they're going to do is short the market. These things still cause pumps. So if we get, just because of the market and the way it moves naturally, and then we move into these zones and start getting good news, start getting all these things that we've been waiting for and speculating on start coming out, I could see it hitting $7. The timeline for that, November, we could possibly see $5, possibly. And mind you guys, this is so far in the future that it's very speculative. We need to see more things forming before I'm going to actually say this is where I think we're going. But I do think a good entry zone is going to be somewhere between 155 to 124. And back to what I was saying. So we look at these candles here. OSO, a major drop first. Yeah. And, you know, we're due for a price correction. Look at, we moved all the way from 160 to 160, right here at the blue line, all the way up to 235. We are due for price correction to at least $2. At least, like bare minimum, we got to at least hit $2 before we go bouncing back up again. And it could be, you know, 205-ish, you know, but somewhere around that $2. And remember, $2 is a strong support line, just like how 220 is. But we broke through 220. It didn't take long. It didn't take long to break through 220. However, look at how long it took $2 to break above it. Look how long it took to break below it right here. This was crazy volatility before it broke that. And all it took was some news. All it took was some news. So it doesn't matter how strong that support line is. If the right news comes out, it will bring it down. So we keep an eye on it. But if you look right here, look at these two candle tips right here. These two red tips are at 128. These two green ones are at 126. All right. 125. 125 is a psychological barrier. So it will more than likely touch just above 126 to 128. I'd say just to be safe, just to make sure it hits. 130 is beautiful. Why fuss over a few cents and not hit it? Why fuss over it? Like, you know, I was saying 160, but we adjusted to 163 to make sure it hit. And sure, we missed a couple cents. We didn't catch the very tip, but man, compared to everybody else trading, every other person watching, all these other pundits on the internet, nobody else caught it. They were either waiting for 150 or they were waiting for $2 to be it. And that was it. They did not see it coming, that it would fall to 160 and then come back up. Nobody else saw it. But we see it here because we are watching the charts differently. We are not using the Fibonacci to give us our numbers. We're using the candles. The candles are the most accurate. The most accurate. That's why we're able to catch this stuff. But look at this. Look at this zone right here. It's a straight line right there. That's the sweet spot. That it will be the tip of the wick right there. But I think it's going to fall short. I don't think it's actually going to hit there. I think it's going to be more like this 135 and even 145 was where? Right here? Even right here. And the tip of these two wicks right here is 152, and where this candle breaks between here is 155. That's why I say 155, because it is the next level down from 163. So 163 price point was right here at the tip of this. The next candle down and the split between these two candles right here is at 154. So I'm willing to bet that either that 163 hits again as the next position to bounce off for price correction before coming down again, or 155, because we should, if we drop down like this, we should hit that resistance right there, bounce up again, and then continue back downward. And that would bring us into that 130 to 120, and I'm thinking 126, 128. When do I put in a limit order? I mean, you could put it in now. We're talking about months from now. What I would say is be patient a little bit, but you can throw in a limit order. Why not? You're gonna have to wait for it. If it freaking waterfalls like it did right here, and you catch that baby, all right, you know. But the limit order is not gonna fill until it hits that number, and if it hits that number, we're looking good. Because anywhere along down here, wherever it hits, whether you pick it up right here or you pick it up down here, it's gonna have somewhat of a price correction where you can adjust, take some profits, or pull out and wait for it to come back in, or watch to see what type of formation is formed to see if it's going to do something different where it just comes up like this. So that would be my, my strategy, what I would do. I'm going to, as it comes down into each one of those little zones, I'll have a little limit order set to buy for each one. And the first one, when I catch it, if it continues down from there, no big deal, I'll grab the next one. Because we know that it will, with a big move like this, even like a big move like this, there is price correction in between. So there's room for adjustment. We just have to keep an eye on it, and you got to keep watching the show, and be a deluxe subscriber, and you can get that coaching. So we can make those trades together. I can't come on here and tell you when to buy, when to sell. I can't tell you what to do, but I can point you in the right direction. I can basically tell you what I'm doing or what I'm seeing, and we can do it together. And it's more just we're friends, we're chatting online, and it becomes a legal gray area. So, Guinea Marie, you already know, we chat all the time. I love you to death. You can always message me. I do not mind. Even this weekend, it was great to hear from you. I did have a few people message me on the weekend. By the way, if you do plan on messaging me on the weekends, I will still take your messages. However, that is technically my time off. So if you do feel the need or you need some of that guidance, I'm still going to help you, okay? Because that's just who I am. I can't turn people away. I just can't do it. Eventually, this is going to get so big where I can't do that. But for right now, I'm not going to turn you away just because it's the weekend. However, send a donation. There's a few of you that messaged me this weekend and you sent those donations for those questions, and I appreciate it greatly. It helped out quite a bit because we are building the studio. It is amazing. The studio is so beautiful. I can't believe my eyes. It's literally in front of me. I'm sitting inside of it. I see it's got beautiful, beautiful carpet in it. Lighting fixtures are just, it's incredible. It's incredible. And within, I think, by next Monday, so 1 week from today, I think the cameras will be rolling, baby. Rolling cameras. You're going to see me. You're going to actually see the set, see the studio, and see what you guys built. You guys built and paid for all this. You guys did this. You guys turned a guy on the internet with a freaking tablet and his phone pointed at it to a full-blown production. You guys did that. We did it together. And I am overwhelmingly grateful. This has been a goal that I've had for many, many years. Many years to do this, and I've had other shows before, but we are on a full-fledged professional production scale now, and it's beautiful, and it's all thanks to you guys. Thank you all so much. And remember, if you do want to donate, you can click the stream elements in the chat. That will take you to Cash App, or you can send your donations to Cash App, or excuse me, that the Steam elements will take you to PayPal. So for those of you who don't have Cash App and Venmo, You can use your card directly through PayPal, any type of card. And for donations, you can also send through Venmo and Cash App. Thank you all so much for your support. We're growing. We're growing, and soon I've ordered the equipment. It is on the way. We are getting professional. They're like lavalier mics, but they're like high quality. I believe I got the DJI. I forget what they are, but the lavalier mics for recording out in the field. And I got the gimbal for the phone for the camera. And we'll probably get another camera for the field, but for now I'm going to use the phone with the gimbal. And we're going to do on location filming with interviews. We're going to be talking to people and getting that overall sentiment, because I understand some people that watch this show are very wealthy and they're maybe a little disconnected from the regular average everyday people. We're going to be going into high-end areas, you know, Beverly Hills and the beach and places like that. And we're going to be also going into low income areas and talking to different people, asking them about the economy, asking them about the war, asking them about grocery prices and where they see everything going and what their struggle is, and to kind of get that better grasp on what the average everyday American person is feeling, and what, I wouldn't say the elites, but the, you know, the wealthy or the more better off, because those people also, they're the ones that are putting their money into the market. They're the ones that are making these moves. And in hopes with that, I'm hoping to not only grow the show, but to help people with their financial futures, people who are struggling, that don't know what to even do with their money. You know, I would say probably 90% or more people in the world don't know how, not even just to manage their money, but don't even know what to do with money. And, you know, that's a big part of it. That's why we're here. That's why we're invested in XRP, because we're trying to find a place to put our money to make it grow, because we know that the US dollar is going to trash. And we know that the housing market is going to collapse. Like, where do we put our money? Where do we hedge against this inflation and this economic future that's ahead of us? That's why we're into crypto. We are looking for the place to put our money for the future, because we see the future coming. We see all this happening, and we believe in what we're buying. We believe in XRP because we believe that it is going to replace the financial system. And I believe that too. And you know I kind of talk, I wouldn't say badly, but I don't, you know, I'm always doom and gloom, I guess, with the markets a bit, but that's just because that's where we're at. But I still feel like these are going to be amazing projects, and they're going to see crazy numbers in one day. But the idea is to grow those bags over the next few years, because it's not going to happen overnight. And if we just start throwing money at something while it's at the top, there's no money to be made. So we want to either make those trades now or be patient and look for the smart money entry point and just buy it and hold. Because let me tell you, if this crashes down and we're down in that 40-cent range or lower, 20 cents, that's going to be your buy it and hold it and forget about it phase. That's where you're just going to start throwing money at it. It doesn't matter what price it's at. You're just going to buy it. And unless obviously, you know, we get some kind of news that points us in a direction that it's like a dead technology, or we're moving past that, or something else has come along, you know, that's when we're going to move and adapt and change. And that's the key to getting rich in this system, is knowing how to adapt, knowing how to change, knowing how to find that, what's the word I'm looking for? ability to morph, to adapt, to change with the markets, change with things, and not just say, I'm XRP Army, I've got my blinders on, I'm just going to buy and I'm just going to hold, and that's all there is to it. We're not doing that. We are smart. We are not sheep. If you're here watching this show, that's because you are smart. Okay? We are smart money buyers now. Each and every one of you is now a smart investor instead of just a top buyer or whatever you want to call it, an idiot investor. You guys are no longer that because you're watching this show and you've learned from this show how to grow and how to mature in a way where you are going to be financially well off. Will it take time? Yes. It takes time for this stuff to happen. And that's the key thing I gotta keep telling you guys. Patience. Patience is everything. You know, we were right here at this zone about 220, right? 219, 218, and people are asking me like, so we're gonna pump or whatever. I'm like, you know, there's a potential we could see 229 to even 247. That potential is on the table. But we're hitting this resistance and we're forming a head and shoulders. So I would say it's tricky and it's dangerous. Look at this, could be a freaking bull flag for all we know. Let me see here. This could be a bull flag. Do I think it's a bull flag? Probably not. But that's one heck of a pull on a bull flag, which could potentially still send it up to like 260 and form another from there. I'd probably say more like 240 at first and hit that resistance right here and then move out from here. This is still on the table. This move is still on the table. We are still well within that range. That can definitely still happen. And I'm not going to put blinders on and say that, no, it's going down because that's what I want my narrative to be. No way, man. We are looking for whatever's going to make us money. Whatever's going to make us money. And this could be that. However, I really feel like this is a straight line here. This is a flat bottom, which can signal bearish movement instead of bullish movement. It becomes a descending triangle instead of a bull flag. And I believe that it's flat here. I believe this 210, 215 zone is flat because it's a consolidation zone. So we just have to watch it. We got to watch it because other people will read this chart and see bull flag and they'll buy into it. And it could send it up, even if they're reading it wrong. If enough people read it wrong, it's going to go up. So we're watching it. We're waiting. We're seeing. But let me tell you, this is 100% a head and shoulders playing out right now. I think we're hitting just that first line of resistance, which is only halfway down. We should be seeing at least 208, 209. But I think we see lower. I think we see 204, 205, and then maybe we come back up and retest this line. So we'll see. All right, if we were on TikTok, I'd say smash that like button and all that nonsense, but we don't have to do that here because we're on Twitch and it's amazing. I hope you're enjoying the show. Let's get into some of the news. We've got a lot of news to cover today. Let's check it out. Boom. Bitcoin's price today falls to 94.3K as trade economic uncertainty persists. Economic uncertainty is everything right now. That is why things aren't bull pushing and I wouldn't even say it should bull push. I wouldn't even say that because this is normal for hold on, let me pull that out of the way. This is normal for the bull run. This is normal to see this drop between May and August. This happens between May and August. That's not just crypto. That's other stocks and things in the, what do you call it, the stock market. Okay? That's normal. Normal. And if this is where we're at and we're headed into capitulation, we'll hit that despair. We'll return up and we'll see another one of these side by side, but it'll be a little bit smaller. And we'll go through this whole thing again. And it'll be basically seeing the cycle happen twice in one bull run. That's what I think we're going to see. All right, let's see here. Back to the news. Back to news. All right. So let's see here. This is from Reuters. Investing.com. Bitcoin slipped in holiday thinning trade on Monday, remaining largely within a trading range established over the past week as traders sought more definite clues on U.S.-China trade talks and the economy. The swath of market holidays in Asia kept trading volumes dull. The world's biggest cryptocurrency has benefited from improved risk appetite through late April as a positive comments of eventual U.S.-China trade negotiations sparked some cheer in markets. But I'll tell you what, I think people jumped the gun on the trade stuff. They have really jumped the gun because me personally, I think we're going into World War III. I think the trade war advances into something much, much more serious. And this is just the start. And that's my opinion. We're all entitled to our opinions. It could end up just being a little trade tiff and this is done and over with. I just don't see that happening. This is, history has shown that this is the precursor. This is the beginning of what's coming, not the end. Let's see here. See. Oh, we got what is up, big baller? I'm losing so much money. We are going to war. I'm down 100K and looking to Malaysia or India. Yeah. Well, India and Pakistan are going to war. I know that. 100K though, that's pretty nasty. Didn't you take out a short though? Did you sell your short? How what? Guinea Marie, you have to be more specific when you put your beer gator. Oh yeah, that's right, because you're waiting on the business to get products. I got you. I that's right, I remember now. How is he down 100K? He's waiting on the trade war to end so that he can continue with his business. He started a business called Beer Gator, and the products he needs are in countries that are highly tariffed, so he can't receive the things that he needs. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, but you know what? I believe in you, and I believe that there's a way around this. Maybe we can come up with something in Vegas. Oh, you thought in crypto? No, but you know what? Big baller, I am brainstorming that idea. Don't think I haven't forgotten about you. I'm coming up with ways in my mind, and I figure we can talk about them in June when I see you in Vegas. So, by the way, we are doing the meet and greet in Vegas, guys. June 2nd, I think we're doing Caesar's Palace. Caesar's Palace in the mall by the fountain is more than likely where we're going to be doing the show. And I haven't released a time yet. We're going to get to that as time goes on. But if you do want to meet me and you want to come watch the live show, we're probably going to be interviewing random people, or you can be interviewed yourself and be on the show. we will be live in Las Vegas and we're going to hang out. You know, come meet me and we're going to hang out. We're going to play some games, have something to drink, have a good time, you know, and bring our community together, be stronger as the family we are. So I hope to see you guys in Las Vegas. For those of you that can't make it, don't worry, there will be more in the future. We will have more meet and greets, but I think Vegas is the place. I think Vegas is the perfect place to do these types of things. It's a public place. You can make it a vacation with you or your family or your buddies or whoever it may be. And it's a great place. And we can probably not this run, but one of these days I want to do a Vegas trip and do Meow Wolf. Meow Wolf looks awesome. Okay, Trump says he wants to keep crypto away from China. Trump on Sunday evening reiterated his support for crypto, but stated that he wanted to keep it away from China. Guinea Marie says, it is true. Tariffs on auto parts are in effect. I need tires. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's bad. Doesn't China secretly own Bitcoin? I don't think so. I think it's the CIA. It's all speculation of who owns Bitcoin, but I do know that China owns Tether, and China, there's no actual proof, but there is proof in quotations that leads to some questions. There's some questionable activity happening with China and Tether coin and its connection to Bitcoin. Yeah, I wouldn't even call it rumors. I would say the numbers don't lie. The numbers are there. They're not rumors. The real thing is we don't have an investigation yet. And without regulation, there won't be an investigation. So once we get regulation, that's what's coming next, is the investigation into Tether and Bitcoin, which is going to be a nasty, nasty, nasty thing for Bitcoin. But I believe that would be the most bullish thing to happen for XRP, because XRP's already been dragged through the mud. It's already getting its legal clarity. So once that's all resolved and everything in crypto starts getting the microscope put on it and they start tanking, XRP is going to do the opposite, because it's already been through the ringer. So when everybody's like, oh man, I'm worried to keep my Bitcoin, where can I put it? Because it's going through the ringer right now. It's under investigation. It's under all these things. Where are they going to move? They're going to move to XRP. And that's when XRP will take the throne. Okay. And we'll see crazy, crazy things happen. But a lot has to transpire before all that happens. A lot has to happen. But back to the news. Crypto is a whole new thing that started not so long ago, but I'm very much in favor of crypto because otherwise China is going to take it over. And just like AI, just many other industries, crypto is very important. Trump said comments made to reporters about aboard Air Force One. Trump has maintained a largely positive stance towards crypto, staking his cabinet and regulatory agencies with several pro-crypto candidates. But his actual policies attempting to further U.S. crypto development have so far garnered lukewarm optimism, especially his unveiling of the strategic Bitcoin reserve this year. Yeah, it was a bit of a nothing burger. We got a crazy pump and then we found out tariffs and that it wasn't what we thought it was. And I think that's going to be a lot of the news we get. All this crazy speculation and the proposal on the SEC website about XRP, we're not going to get those answers that we're looking for. It's going to be the opposite. It's going to be nothing burger or nothing too crazy, mediocre at best. And because everything has been pumping based on speculation, it's going to bring the prices down. I do think in the future things will happen, and that's part of the news. Let me segue into that. No. XRP news today. XRP adoption surges as MasterCard backs it as a bridge, and 300 million moves spark speculation. I think when news breaks of the earthquakes we have been having, it's going to cause panic. I think so, but we already know why we're having the earthquakes, why we're having these solar storms, why we're having these power outages. It's, I want to say there's still a possibility of cyber attacks. And we did read, 9 articles the other day when we got banned on TikTok of cyber attacks happening. But there is a possibility these are natural disasters. And it could be that the poles are shifting. And I know that sounds crazy, like some crazy rabbit hole thing. But there is a scientist who he works with the Department of Transportation, and he basically said that and this is the government, this is our government, where they're standing is they're saying that they believe that the poles are shifting and the Earth is losing its magnetic field, which is what deflects that solar radiation from the Earth, and it's no longer protecting it. Let's see here. Get a solar generator. Yep. Get your solar generator. You can run a generator off of wood. You can burn wood and make this thing. It's on YouTube. Go look it up. And you can literally burn wood and it creates smoke that becomes flammable. Yeah, sort of biblical. But you guys have to understand that with crazy things, you can have a generator, but if there's no fuel to buy or there's no power at the gas station, how are you going to get fuel to fuel it? And it is too hard to store gasoline for long periods of time. I do have gas cans that I use and I keep on hand, and I'm working on getting a big tank with a pump. I have like underground tanks with like hundreds of gallons that it can hold, because we have the airport here, so we fuel planes. So we have a large holding tank for fuel, but I'm looking to, what I do is we purchase the fuel, and then you buy it when it's low and the price per barrel is really low, or lowest it's gonna be, I guess. And then when the prices go up, you use those reserves and you don't pay to refuel your cars and things when you're driving around town. And then when it drops again, you replenish those reserves. So I've been doing that for many years now, and I'm still paying, low prices. Obviously they're not as low as I'd like them to be, but when the price of gas goes up and it fluctuates how it goes up and down, I'm always, it's just like the stock market. I'm purchasing my fuel the same way. I'm buying low and I'm selling high, but I have to use it. We have to use the fuel. That's the problem. It's hard to store. So you got to have backups for a generator. You can't just expect there to be fuel. You need to think outside the box, because you can have a generator and it ain't gonna power nothing. But let me tell you, there are ways that you can hook up a generator to a bicycle, and you can power it that way. You can have the wind. There's lots of different ways to do these things. I invest in market, but heard banks are going to fail. To what happens to my investments? That's a good question. I think crypto is my bank. Okay, I don't really use a bank. I do have a bank account, but I really only use my bank account to send money to my crypto account. That's really its only purpose, for like certain things. And with like my Venmo, I can send money from Venmo and PayPal directly to my crypto account. There's no need for a bank. I invest in stocks the past 25 years. Good for you. I use Fidelity, and I have trusts open, and that's where the money is kept. So, and that's more long-term stuff. All right. So back to the news. So XRP adoption surges as MasterCard backs it as a bridge, and 300 million moves spark speculation. XRP continues to gain traction in the global financial system, bolstered by a new report from MasterCard that identifies the token as a key player in cross-border payments. And we already knew that. Let's see, is this a video? No. MasterCard endorses XRP in real-world remittance use cases. What about solar generator as a backup to fuel? Yeah, obviously solar power, but don't just say, okay, I have a generator, I know I'm good. Store up some water, store up some food, store up some supplies. There's a possibility, and this happened during the pandemic, okay? And I think we're going to see more supply chain disruption and more lack of goods on the shelves than we did in the pandemic. But there was a time where there was no top ramen, there was no rice, there was no beans. You couldn't buy it. I have solar food, bullets, and shoes. Good for you. BJ's had no more toilet paper already. I know, the toilet paper is the first thing to go. It always is. When I was a kid, March Air Force Base closed, and my dad brought home all the toilet paper. We had an entire barn full of toilet paper, and I said, Dad, what are we saving all this for? Why don't we use it or get rid of it or do something with it? And he said, because when disaster strikes, the first thing to go is the toilet paper. And I thought he was crazy. And he was right. What happens if Fidelity closes? Are your investments still yours? It's a trust, so yeah, it's still yours. If you're using a trust or an IRA or things like that, that money is still yours. The question is it still valuable? If things are tanking and you can't, sell your stocks or whatever, or there's no power to make trades, that's a problem. Keep cash on hand. I literally just pulled out, just a few $100 in cash, and I've been breaking it up into small bills and holding on to that cash just in case there's a power outage or something, so that way I can still use cash. And that's just in case, and I have other things I can barter as well. But have some cash, guys. If you got a safe, go to the bank and pull out a couple grand if you've got it, and just hold a little bit of cash, pull out some ones and fives and have a couple racks of ones and fives, a few $100 of each, and just hold on to those, because those are going to be worth more than $100 bill. Because if shit hits the fan and you're like, I need to buy something, and they say we have no change, you say all I got is 100, you're paying $100 for something. That's what it's going to be. So having those small bills makes them more valuable in that type of a situation. Take more, it's going to be worth less. Let's see. Yes, banks used to let you take 5 out of the bank, no more $5 bills. Yeah. And so what I do is I go to the gas station. I pay cash to buy gas when I'm out in town or whatever, and I need to put gas in the car. And what I do is I pay with 100, put $50 in the tank, and then I get the change back and I ask for ones and fives. sometimes tens. Do you see the Civil War movie they carried Canadian dollars? Yes, I did see the Civil War movie, and I do have the Canadian gold coins. I do keep those because those are valuable because they're gold. So what do they call them? Kangaroo coins or something like that. I forget what they call them. I have a few of those for just in cases, you know. But you can get those Canadian gold at any like gold and silver exchange. You can get those. Those are common, and they're money. Even though it's Canadian money, you can spend it here in the US. Most people will take that. I wouldn't say the grocery store would take it, but I think if things were down and you saw somebody and you were like, hey, I've got a $100 gold coin right here, they'd give you cash for it or whatever. They'd barter with you. It's gold. Gold is gold. Do I think gold is dead technology? Yes. But I think in a disaster situation, gold can be valuable, but you can have all the gold in the world, but all it takes is a guy with one bullet to take it from you. So keep that in mind. In a real disaster, real end of the world situation, the true thing that is valuable is self-preservation, the ability to defend yourself. People love to hold. Oh yeah. People love gold, and they always will. At least we keep our windows tint and raise trucks, unlike Canada. Poor Canada. I heard something about Trump trying to, I don't know. I'm not going to speculate on it. We're probably going to cover that in tomorrow's show. So I want to before I say anything about it, I'm going to read into it because I don't like to give you guys misinformation. I always read through this stuff and get deep into it before I release it to you guys, because I want to make sure that the information is vetted, that I'm not sparking panic sells or buys or whatever until we know what's going on. I want to give you guys factual information. All right, so MasterCard. That's a good one. Okay, so here's a nasty one. And remember last month on the 3rd, I believe it was, when we got the tariff thing and we saw that big drop, I had told you guys that XRP clearly changed the rules on the way that they sell their escrowed XRP. So in Brad Garlinghouse's interview, where we had that pump where he said the SEC case was over, right? You guys remember that? In that interview, he stated that they planned to change the way that they release XRP and to change their escrow. And they can change that at any time. That is their rules and their parameters. So 1 billion XRP unlocked by Ripple as it sets new rules. And I told you guys this. Last month, they released 500 billion. Dumped it, unloaded it into the market because they knew the tariffs were coming and they knew the big dump was going to happen. And they sold it right before, literally the day before, like hours before. Hours before, they sold 500 billion XRP. Ripple Giant released another billion XRP from escrow after major shift in its own rules. Prominent blockchain sleuth Whale Alert, which regularly monitors astounding cryptocurrency transfers and then reveals the details on its X account, has spotted 3 mammoth crypto transactions today carrying 1 billion XRP cumulatively. One of them, according to Whale Alert, was definitely performed by the San Francisco-based crypto juggernaut Ripple. Contrary to its previous way of releasing 1 billion XRP every month, now Ripple does it in a brand new manner. The 3 transactions detected by the above-mentioned data source moved 200 billion XRP, 300 billion XRP, and 500 billion XRP from escrow to unknown wallets. The largest one carrying half a billion XRP, excuse me, is that 100 million, 200 million, 300 million, and 500 million XRP from escrow to unknown wallets. The largest one carrying half a billion XRP was marked as initiated by Ripple. However, data shared by XRP Scan shows that the other 2 XRP chunks were related from escrow by the same entity. They're changing the rules and they're doing things sneakily. They're doing these things very sneakily. They're basically, I would say, paying themselves, or who knows what they're doing with it. It's all speculation right now. But whatever they're up to, I'm not going to say it's in the best interest for you and me, the XRP holder. It's in the best interest of the company Ripple. Keep that in mind. They do not care about you and me. They do not care about how much we make. They care about how can they unload this stuff without crashing the markets. Yes, they're patting their pockets, definitely. And they're doing it in sneaky, deceptive ways, like telling us without telling us and doing things in a way to make it seem like it's not really happening, but it happens, and it slowly brings the price down. And so it doesn't scare everybody out so that they can use you as the exit liquidity. I've said it time and time before, don't become someone's exit liquidity. Maybe you've seen my meme about XRP and Ripple unleashing the stocks, unleashing the XRP on the people. As usual, the traditional monthly 1 billion XRP released was split into several transfers. The new thing here is that Ripple unleashes this staggering amount of XRP not on the first, but on the 3rd day of the new month. Another new thing here is that Ripple now unlocks 700 million XRP in escrow before releasing 1 billion XRP, not after as it was before. So they're unlocking them both. That's crazy. 700 million XRP in new escrow before releasing 1 billion XRP. So I would say it's close to 2 billion now. We can contact Ripple. We have some questions and thoughts. Yeah, can we? I know, right? I have many questions for you, Brad. Brad, we have questions, and we all are carrying torches and pitchforks. And you know what would happen? You know what happens when all the people become restless and everyone grabs their torches and they grab their pitchforks and they go to march on the castle? The king comes out and he says to the people with the torches are trying to take away your pitchforks, and they start to fight each other. That's what happens. Keep that in mind. Don't become bifurcated. Remember, they are pitting us against each other so that we don't go after the real problem. Remember this. All right, let's see here. By releasing a giant amount of XRP every month, Ripple supports XRP's liquidity in the markets by selling part of it on exchanges to use process for covering its regular operational expenses. Besides, the company injects XRP into its Ripple payments network and provides its institutional partners with additional XRP. Ripple allegedly raises Circle acquisition bid to $20 billion. XRP Army denies this rumor. Earlier this week, it was reported that Ripple offered to buy Circle, the issuer of the second largest USD pegged stablecoin USDC, for $4 to $5 billion. However, the company rejected this offer, assuming it undervalues the company. Those news reports were followed by rumors that in an attempt to reach its goal and acquire a major rival in stablecoin market, Ripple increased its generous offer to $20 billion, still intending to buy Circle. However, the XRP Army has found this rumor false and has been poking fun at the media that are spreading it, including Cointelegraph. So there has not been a second offer made. We don't know what's going on with that, but I would speculate, mind you, this is my opinion, this is my speculation, that they are moving the Ripple reserves into these other private wallets by one of two things: greasing pockets, greasing the wheels to make this plan happen. They're greasing people, saying, here, we're going to send you all this XRP. You're going to make this deal happen. Or they're saving it in a way to use it as a way to pay to buy and acquire Circle. I would speculate that it's one of those things. I think it's more or less the greasing of the wheels. They are greasing people, lining pockets, making deals, and those people, by doing that, it doesn't go directly into the market. It is a dark pool exchange. Okay? And it is done behind the scenes. And then those people holding that XRP will start to unload it on people whenever they see fit. All right? Keep that in mind. All right, let's see here. Breaking: Ripple just dropped a bombshell. 1 billion XRP at least. It's the start of a mass. All right. What just happened on May 3rd? Blockchain sleuths. Well, we just read this, right? So what is market impact? What you need to do? XRP's price is teetering on a knife's edge. Here's what traders are whispering. Bear case: a sudden sell-off could trigger panic. XRP might nosedive 20 to 30% overnight. Bull case: if Ripple holds, this could signal long-term confidence and a rally. Two ledgers, Oz. I mean, yes, there is a private ledger and a public ledger thing, but and I know this to be true because I've done deep research into the two ledgers. You have to have, it's basically institutional money. They have a different XRP something that you can buy. You have to buy at least 100 million XRP and trade it at a time. And it works for cross-border payments. It literally does what it's intended to do. It's for money transfers, cross-border payments, and that's all it's doing. They're not actually purchasing XRP. They're using XRP to make these transactions. And because it's a small number of XRP that they're using, it inflates the price. So, and this is speculation. We don't know for sure, but there is a private ledger, and they're obviously using that as a way to test and make sure that the system is functioning and it's doing as it's intended to do. So it is being used in some way, shape, or form. But we don't quite really know exactly what it is they're doing and why. But honestly, I think it's a way for either those transactions to happen, for them to test the network, or there are institutions that are secretly buying it up. I don't think that to be the case, because that would be illegal. So, mind you. But I think the bear case is more likely here. I think 20 to 30% nosedive overnight can definitely happen, and that would put us down here, baby, in that 125, 150, somewhere in there. That would completely explain why it would drop in this manner. Okay? And I think they want to drop it secretly in some way, and I think at the same time they want it to pump. Okay? I think they want to sell it off while it's up here high. It drop down low again, and then whales buy it up, and then it pump again. They want to shake people out of this stuff. They don't want you holding it. They will drive the price down. In my opinion, I just feel it. But look at, we've got a new day candle. We've got a new day candle, and we are green right now. We're going up to 114. I'm going to assume that we hit 115 to 117. 118 would be the absolute top. And if we did, that would be our price correction for this big drop. And then we're looking, that would be our shoulder for this second head and shoulder. And it would be all downhill from there, baby. But it's still too soon. Still too soon, but I have a strong belief that we're going to come down much lower, that this candle will probably close lower. I would say, and maybe not today's candle, maybe tomorrow's candle, but it looks like XRP is flipping. So we were pumping on Sundays. I think we're going back to the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday pumping, and weekends are the sell-off. I think that's what we're seeing. And the reason why it kind of changed is, I think, one, because of Asian markets, but two, I think also because we hit this resistance consolidation zone. And it just kind of threw everything off, because Bitcoin was doing all right. And what did I tell you guys? This is starting to kind of look like it wants to form either a head and shoulders or a diamond top. Let me tell you, we could close red here and drop all the way to 191 and then come back up. And this would still make a nice little diamond top. That looks nasty. Let me try that again. So we could come down here. I don't know why. I think it's something like that. Or it's a head and shoulders, baby. And that lines up with XRP. And that would bring the price down to at least 88. Probably 87. But this pattern right here is the pattern we have. This is a bearish pattern. This is what do they call it? Something wedge. I forget what it's called. A widening wedge or something like that. And basically the way it works is it would come up here, touch here, come up here, and then blam. So that is on the table. And it may not even get that extra pump. It could just go up here and then bam. Either way, both of those, everything, diamond top, head and shoulders, widening wedge, all point to downward movement to at least 88 to, I would say, 86K. Just to start. It could continue going down from there. And that would all line up with the mid-May, June sell-off. That would bring us into the end of May. Baby, that all lines up with, we're probably not going to pump. Okay? We're probably not going to pump through May and June. We're probably going to drop. I would say more than likely. All right, let's see here. Back to the news. Let's see, we read that one. XRP news today. ETF bets hold as XRP dips. All eyes on the SEC's next move. XRP fell further as the SEC failed to withdraw its Ripple appeal following the May 1st closed meeting. And they're not gonna withdraw the appeal. It has to be done in the court. I've been screaming this at the top of my lungs. Everybody's speculating it's going to get dropped. It's going to get dropped. It can't. It has to go to court. They have an injunction. If they're ever going to get the injunction removed, they have to go to court. And we know this. We know this because you're watching this show and you're well informed. Everybody else, they are living on a pipe dream. Put the pipe down, y'all, okay? Look at the way things work in the world, and you'll have way better understanding. So that's the main thing to take away. The odds of a 2025 XRP spot ETF approval is at 79%, despite delays in the SEC legal regulation. That's pretty high, but it's still just a percentage. We don't know. Institutions can't buy XRP until the injunction is removed. And most people don't know that. Most people don't even know there is an injunction. They don't know. They're so ill-informed. All right. And then for the last of the crypto news, we have a lot more news to cover. We got to go over the tariff stuff and many other things, so stick around. But let's let the AI read this one for us, okay? So this is pro-crypto Democrats pull support for stablecoin bill in last minute.
Pro-crypto Democrats pull support for stablecoin bill in last minute. A group of U.S. Senate Democrats known for supporting the crypto industry have said they would oppose a Republican-led stablecoin bill if it moves forward in its current form. The move threatens to stall legislation that could establish the first U.S. regulatory framework for stablecoins, according to a May 3 report from Politico. Per the report, 9 Senate Democrats said in a joint statement that the bill still has numerous issues that must be addressed. They warned they would not support a procedural vote to advance the legislation unless changes are made. Among the signatories were Senators Ruben Gallego, Mark Warner, Lisa Blunt Rochester and Andy Kim, all of whom had previously backed the bill when it passed through the Senate Banking Committee in March. The bill, introduced by Senator Bill Hagerty, is formally known as the Guiding and Establishing National Innovation for U.S. Stablecoins, GENIUS, Act. Related, Fed's Powell reasserts support for stablecoin legislation. Senate prepares to vote on stablecoin bill. The Senate is expected to begin floor consideration of the bill in the coming days, with the first vote potentially taking place next week. The bill has been championed by the crypto industry as a landmark step toward regulatory clarity. However, the Democrats' about-face reflects growing unease within the party. Although revisions were made to the bill after its committee approval to address Democratic concerns, the lawmakers said the changes fell short. They called for stronger safeguards related to anti-money laundering, national security, foreign issuers, and accountability measures for non-compliant actors. The statement was also signed by Senators Raphael Warnock, Catherine Cortez Masto, Ben Raylon, John Hickenlooper, and Adam Schiff. A copy of the statement. Source, Alex Thorne. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand and Senator Angela Elsa Brooks were absent from the list, who co-sponsored the bill alongside Hagerty. Despite their objections, the Democratic senators emphasized their commitment to shaping responsible crypto regulation. They reportedly said they are eager to continue working with our colleagues to address these issues. Related, U.S. banks are free to begin supporting Bitcoin. Crypto needs a stablecoin bill. On April 27, Caitlin Long, founder and CEO of Custodia Bank, criticized the U.S. Federal Reserve for quietly maintaining a key anti-crypto policy that favors big bank-issued stablecoins, despite relaxing crypto partnership rules for banks. Long explained that while the Fed recently rescinded 4 prior crypto guidelines, A January 27, 2023, statement was left intact in coordination with the Biden administration. The guidance, according to Long, blocks banks from engaging directly with crypto assets and prohibits them from issuing stablecoins on permissionless blockchains. However, Long noted that once a federal stablecoin bill becomes law, it could override the Fed's stance. Congress should hurry up, she urged. Magazine, Financial Nihilism in Crypto is Over, it's time to dream big again.
Well, isn't that something, huh? So, institutions can't use crypto, can't use stable coins yet. We need regulation. And let me tell you something. Institutions have a lot to lose. They have a lot to lose, guys. Think about it. Are you going to basically play with crypto, play with fire, and risk losing your business and everything you've built just because you think something's going to go the way you want it to? No way. These institutions are going to wait until there's clarity in the law, and then they'll act upon it. And let me tell you something. If the markets are already pumped, they're going to come in and short it first. They will come in, they will short the market, bring it down, and then they will jump in. They don't like to buy the top. They're smart money buyers. All right, here we go. Trump says he will not drop tariffs to get China to negotiating table. Trump rejects China's demand of lowering the 145% tariff to get them to the negotiating table. And you know what's crazy is last week everyone was like, "Oh yeah, China, it's over," and they were like, "Oh, there's a pause on the tariffs, and it's not a big deal. It's not going to be that crazy." And let me tell you, the markets are starting to dump again because everyone realizes that they were on a pipe dream. I had my phone stuck in my ear when you turned it up. My bad. My bad. I do apologize. We just moved the entire studio and a bunch of equipment and stuff. And so we've been just dealing with the whole studio part of it, that I kind of like threw all the audio equipment back together. And so there's a few kinks that need to be fixed with the audio, and I do apologize for that. We'll get it all sorted out by next week, guys. Monday next week, we're gonna be 100% in the studio. We should have the cameras on by then. It's gonna be beautiful. Listen, everybody says so. It's the most beautiful show you've ever seen. We're all going to love and enjoy it. I'm telling you right now. Nobody knows it like I do, because I'm Donald J. Trump. All right, but yeah, it's gonna be great. So tariffs are not over with China. Everyone was like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna get a deal. They want to work with us. That it's gonna be over." It ain't over anytime soon. And let me tell you something. China will allow all of their people to die before they back down. It's nasty. We're going to read this and then we're going to go over why about China. It's a little bit of a video. It's actually from TikTok. We're going to watch it, but it's very informational. And it's a little bit on the longer side, but I think you guys should hear it. And I did post it on my TikTok as well. But this is why you guys should understand what's going on in China, and they don't care. They do not care one bit. They don't care about their people. They don't care about their economy. They care about how their honor or their dignity is affected. That's the main thing they care about. All right, let's give this a little watch here.
President Donald Trump marked his first 100 days in office. This week, there were new signs that the economy could be slowing, with fast food giant McDonald's reporting its worst quarterly sales in the U.S. since the height of the pandemic in 2020. And the Commerce Department reporting that gross domestic product shrank 0.3% in the first quarter amid a sharp increase in imports as businesses rushed to get ahead of the Trump tariffs. The president on Wednesday blamed Joe Biden for the contracting economy.
Joe Biden. No way it's him.
Some numbers today.
He did this.
And I have to start off by saying that's Biden. That's not Trump, because we came in on January, this is the quarterly numbers, and we came in and I was very against everything that Biden was doing in terms of the economy. We came in on January 20th. So this is Biden. And you could even say the next quarter is sort of Biden, because it doesn't just happen on a daily or an hourly basis. But we're turning it around. It's a big ship to turn around.
Maybe the GDP numbers, but
let's bring
it's
in
only going
Wall
to
Street
get
Journal
worse.
Columnist Mary Anastasia O'Grady and Kim Strassel. So, Mary, conflicting signs this week. The GDP report contraction in the first quarter, but the April jobs market looked reasonably strong.
Well, it came in better than expected, but the 2 months before that were revised downward. So, you know, I'd say the job market is not as healthy as it used to be, but it's still okay.
Report was revised. So remember, we had learned that the job market openings were up like 200% or something like that, or there was like 200,000 more jobs than expected. Well, there's been a revision on that. And I think that was on purpose. It's very hard to say right now
where the economy is, but I think one thing is absolutely certain, and that is the tariffs had an effect on this GDP number. And the reason is because when you calculate the GDP, you add up all the stuff that we do in this country, and then you subtract out imports. And the import number was so big that brought the GDP number down. And the reason the number was so big was that people were accelerating their purchases to get ahead of the tariffs.
What does that tell you about
and
the second
I can
and third
attest to that personally. I have been accelerating my buying of the things for this studio because I know that they're going to go up. And a lot of the stuff is equipment. It's microphones and cameras and different things. What just happened? Okay. This stuff comes from China.
Massachusetts Democratic Congressman Jake Auchincloss.
What the heck just happened? This must be, I don't know. We lost it. Oh, well. But GDP is about to get worse because they have not even factored in Doge cuts, and they have not factored in mass deportations. Believe it or not, the people that were deported attribute to GDP. So those numbers are going to get worse. And I think that they're doing these things in the way they are so that way they can not have to lower interest rates. Plain and simple.
Social, President Donald Trump announced he would impose a 100% tariff on movies made outside the United States.
Hollywood is being destroyed. Now, you have an incompetent, grossly incompetent governor that allowed that to happen, so I'm not just blaming other nations, but other nations, a lot of them, have stolen our movie industry.
According to the research firm ProdPro, movie and TV projects with budgets over $40 million went outside the U.S. in 2023.
It's become very expensive to shoot in the United States for a lot of reasons, and the U.S. doesn't have national tax breaks the way some other countries do.
It was not clear if the tariffs would hit production costs, box office revenue, or even streaming services.
Probably prices will go up. It'll probably get more expensive to make movies, so either fewer movies will get made or the movies that get made will be more expensive. Those costs will then probably get passed down the line.
Tax incentives have made the move overseas
always
lucrative.
Gets passed down the line. So President Trump announces to Washington, D.C. as host of 2027 NFL Draft. President Trump announced the 27 NFL draft will be held in Washington, D.C. at the National Mall. Trump said he plans to save the dying American film industry. We want movies in America again, he wrote. Motion Picture Association report fund the U.S. film and television industry has a positive balance of trade in every major market in the world, with exports more than 3 times imports. The White House spokesperson later said no financial discussions of foreign films have been made. No final decisions. No final decisions. Okay. So this is rumor. White House talking about this happening. This is still a rumor. We do not know. They said that they will immediately begin instituting a 100% tariff. It's all speculation. There's no real meat and potatoes here happening. However, the markets are reflecting it, okay? More tariffs are coming, less are going away every day, and people are starting to realize that the whole 90-day pause on tariffs was fake. They're starting to realize that the deals with China are not happening, and they're starting to realize that it was all just to get them to pump back into the market to keep it from going down so that Donald Trump didn't look bad. They need it to happen slowly over time, not overnight, and people are starting to panic sell again. Okay. Senate Democrats propose legislation to exempt small businesses from tariffs. Washington Senate Democrats on Monday introduced legislation to exempt mom and pop companies from tariffs that have roiled global trade and jeopardized some companies' ability to operate. Co-sponsored by Senator Chuck Schumer of New York and Senator Ed Markey of Massachusetts. Some business legislation act would prevent small business owners from having to pay import taxes on the goods they receive from other countries. And what do we need to know? Senate Democrats introduced the bill on Monday, or the Small Business Liberation Act on Monday. The legislation would exempt small businesses. On Sunday, President Trump said he isn't considering tariff relief for small businesses because they're not going to need it. There are about 33 million small businesses in the United States. He says they're not going to need it. They're not going to need it. And I'm wondering why that is. Is it because he thinks that they're going to come up with a deal, or they're going to manufacture things here in the United States? Who knows? But it sounds like, obviously, the president doesn't make legislation. That's up for the legislative branch. And hopefully something like this comes through. This would be some sort of a bullish news for the markets. This could, make the S&P 500 go up, even though it doesn't really affect the S&P 500 and those companies. But if this does enact, this could cause, a speculative pump, I guess, but I don't really see it happening. But it's something to note, something to keep an eye on, and we will keep an eye on it. All right, back to the charts. Look at our little green candle is closing red. It's going into the red. I think we're well on our way to about 209 to even as low as 205, 204. And I would speculate from that point, we should see a little bit of a price correction, at least back up to 210. And at the most 212 to 215. And then come right back down. So this Head and Shoulders is playing out beautifully, beautifully, beautifully. I was hoping for a little bit more of a pump, and it felt like it was going to happen, but we didn't pump on Sunday like we normally do. And new tariff stuff is rolling out. So get ready for it to head down. Get ready, because it's coming. There will be price correction along the way. But I would say until we get down below $2, it's going to be hard to predict what's happening, because $2 and $2.20 are strong resistance zones. We could very well bounce between there and consolidate until we hit the blue line again, somewhere probably like 212-ish, and either break out or break down. That is a possibility that we move sideways, and that would line up perfectly with the Head and Shoulders. And that would bring us back down to that low zone. The Head and Shoulders would put us somewhere at about 180 to 175, and we could continue to go lower from there or bounce up from there to, let's say, 190 and then back down. The more price correction that happens between this on the way down, the more likely that when we come down, the lower numbers we'll see. All right. So the longer, if we just free fall now, the line is closer, but the further along it gets, the farther down it is. And I would say that this would probably go mid-June, and that would put us at the dollar mark. The dollar mark is possible if we just continue downward, and we could freaking come down here, and instead of spiking up, we could start hugging this line. We could start hugging this side of the line, which would make us want to break the other direction. So we're going to have to watch it. All right. Now for the fun part of the show. So we're on Twitch, so we get to talk about things that we can't talk about on TikTok. And, you know, some of this stuff is part of why we got banned. And some of these videos that we're about to watch are from TikTok. Okay? But we're going to get into it. But first thing I want, so these are some videos that I've been watching. Let's talk about China.
A prolonged housing crisis in China.
So this is something you need to understand about China and why they will burn their country to the ground. They will allow people to die and suffer before they make a deal with the United States. Keep that in mind. They do not care. We are more compassionate than they are. All right, let's give this a little watch here. You're going to enjoy this one.
China having a knock-on effect on the rest of the economy.
I know that China is doing very poorly right now. I just saw some reports coming out, and I don't want that to happen to China.
And one of their biggest challenges, the property market.
Young people in China are increasingly flocking to poorer regions in search of rock-bottom housing as the property slump continues.
Things are not going to plan with China's economy. China's a ticking time bomb. China's in trouble. The Economist magazine talks of President Xi's failing model.
Well, Jill, over the past decade, we've seen property in China go from economic growth engine to a risk factor.
In 1989, the Chinese Communist Party showed the world exactly what it feared the most. Its own people. Thousands of young Chinese students had gathered in Tiananmen Square, asking for freedom and democracy, something that threatened the CCP's rule. It made them scared. So scared that the CCP decided to launch a brutal attack against its own citizens. Thousands were killed. Thousands more disappeared. All because they dared to hope for something better. After Tiananmen, the CCP didn't admit to anything. No apology, no accountability. They blocked it online, banned anyone from even mentioning it, and erased it, quietly, from public memory. In its place, they offered a new promise. Stay silent and you'll be rewarded with endless jobs, affordable homes, and a future where everyone could get rich if they just keep their heads down. That was the deal. And for a while, it worked. The economy exploded. Cities got bigger, millions moved out of poverty. But the good times didn't last. Today, unemployment is at record highs. The housing market has crashed. Home buyers are refusing to pay mortgages on unfinished apartments. Banks are freezing withdrawals. Factory workers are going months without salaries. Businesses, big and small, are shutting down across the country. And that's why it's not just students protesting this time, it's everyone. I'm sure you guys remember Evergrande back in 2022. With that company's collapse, things got really bad in China. People lost everything.
Crazy protests.
And when people have nothing left to lose, they are not afraid to fight their government. That's why protests were happening all across China against the CCP. But when we covered it back then, our video was demonetized and restricted. It didn't make sense to us, because when we cover other protests, our videos are fine. But covering Chinese protests seems to be a problem. Luckily, YouTube admitted they made a mistake and reversed it. But it took them more than a year to admit their mistake. Now, I have a feeling that since I'm talking about the same subject today, this video may also get demonetized and restricted. So if you guys can help me out and hit that like and subscribe button down below, it truly does help me a lot. Thank you. Now, let's look at how China's real estate crisis started. You see, for a Chinese citizen, owning a home means everything. It's how families plan for retirement, how parents secure their children's future, and how many young men prove they're ready for marriage. In fact, in many parts of China, not having a house means you're not seen as settled enough to even start a family. That's why, for decades, families have poured their entire life savings into property, often buying homes that they don't even plan to live in just to preserve wealth and show security. It became the one thing everyone trusted, because it always seemed to go up. Even the communist government encouraged developers to take massive loans to keep it.
A prolonged housing crisis in China having a knock-on effect.
That's what happened in 2008 with the United States. Do you guys want to see more about that? There's a few more parts to it if you guys want to continue on with it. It is missing part 3, and I believe it was removed from TikTok. So that's why it's no longer there. The first one has over 5,000 views. Second one got 400. Third one is missing, non-existent. And then there's part 4 and 5. If you guys tell me you want to learn more about it, otherwise we'll go on and we'll get into some of the other stuff. But I think you know what, I'm going to do it anyway. My show. These are some things you need to understand about what's going on in China, so that way, yes, it is what happened in 2008, and they're living it now. And China is in a very bad way. Everyone thinks that China's got all this power and all this stuff. It's a ticking time bomb. It's going to get worse for them, but they don't care. They do not care. They will silence their people. They will attack their own people. So that's why I feel like the US is going to cave before. Look at whatever I posted right here is gone. All right, let's watch part 2.
Building. Local officials sold land to raise money, and people kept buying because they believed the risk didn't exist. Soon enough, real estate became the foundation of the modern Chinese dream. And for a while, it worked. Prices rose, wealth grew, people stayed quiet and kept buying. But now, the one thing that held the country together, the so-called safe investment in China, has turned into a ticking bomb. Today, more than 60 million homes across China are sitting empty. That's over 400 million square meters of completed but unsold housing, enough to cover 6 entire Manhattans. And that doesn't even include the half-finished ones, the construction sites that were abandoned midway when the money ran out. According to Goldman Sachs, the total value of stalled or unfinished housing projects is now around 93 trillion yuan. It's nearly $13 trillion. To put that into perspective, that's 8 times what all Chinese homebuyers spent in total last year. And while these homes sit empty or unfinished, the value of the ones already sold is also collapsing. In October of 2024 alone, new home prices dropped by 5.9%, making it the 16th month in a row that prices have declined. You'd be surprised to know that for most Chinese families, their home is their life savings, their retirement plan. and their safety net in case everything else goes wrong. So when housing prices fall, it's not just the property market that takes a hit. It's people's entire sense of security. Their trust in the system starts to crack, and even now, the CCP can't ignore it. Officials are admitting publicly that real estate, which once made up nearly 30% of China's entire GDP, is no longer helping the economy grow. It's become dead weight. It's crushed consumer spending, wrecked business confidence, and triggered a slow erosion of public trust. And that last part is what really scares the CCP, because it's almost the same as what happened to the United States back in 2008. Back then, real estate felt like a guaranteed way to get rich. Prices kept rising, and everyone, from banks to buyers, started believing they'd never go down. The rush to own property was so extreme that developers sold out entire complexes before even pouring the foundation. People weren't buying homes to live in, they were buying their second, third, and sometimes fourth property just to ride the boom. But once the construction was done, many of these homes just sat there. They had owners, but no one lived in them. And when the crash finally came, it was brutal. Prices tanked, banks failed, millions lost their homes. Entire financial institutions collapsed. It triggered a global recession that took years to recover from. But here's the difference. America had a diversified economy. People had stocks, they had retirement accounts, and small businesses. In China, it's different. Chinese families don't invest the way Americans do. Many people don't trust the stock market. One data set shows that nearly 70% of household wealth in China is tied directly to real estate. Not stocks, not businesses, not savings accounts, just property. That means they're not just exposed to the crash, they're trapped in it. No safety net, no plan B. This is why millions of families are finally realizing that the one thing they trusted the most, their home, is bleeding value every month. That it won't cover their retirement. It won't help their kids get married. It won't protect them if everything else falls apart. According to a well-respected expert, this housing building.
And part 4 is missing. Or excuse me, part 3 is missing of this. What's up, TikTok seller? Welcome, welcome. You just jumped in the best part. We're about to jump into the rabbit holes. They moved to the U.S. because China took away their 25% exit tax to buy in America. China is dying and they're looking for other places to live. Agreed. Agreed. I was at work, but rabbit holes are the best. Yeah, we're going to go down some really fun rabbit holes today. We're going to go over the underground city stuff, and I'm going to cover the second portion of what I found on Coronado Island by accident. I was down in the labyrinth and I stumbled across something I was not supposed to see. And literally after I saw it, I was going to go back and get some video footage, and basically I ended up retiring. I did go back, but I was at a different location, and I was gonna just go there and mosey my way in there and kind of sneak around because I know the area well. What is it? I have a house Coronado. We're gonna go over it. Let me finish these real quick, and then we're gonna jump into those rabbit holes. It's gonna be fun. We're gonna cover some pretty gnarly stuff happening, but also I'm gonna give you some of my inside information that I know. We're not on TikTok, so I figured I wanted to get some of this stuff out before it happened.
A way you can consider these assets of Evergrande. The worst part is that Evergrande wasn't the only one doing these shady tricks. Almost every real estate company in China was operating this way. The whole sector was overleveraged to the teeth. Just like a Ponzi scheme, the only way to continue forever is if you continue growing forever. But you can't keep growing if people lose trust in Evergrande's ability to stay solvent. And I'm sure you guessed it by now, that's exactly what happened. The company missed a payment, then another. By 2021, it defaulted on its offshore debt. When the news got out that Evergrande could default on $300 billion worth of loans, panic spread throughout the economy. People also realized that this problem isn't limited to Evergrande. The whole real estate sector is overleveraged, and it's starting to crumble. Chinese developers owed around $5.3 trillion in debt. Construction sites across China went silent. Everything stopped. And with no real choice left, thousands of buyers who had paid in full were left with half-built shells. These stalled units were nicknamed rotting apartments, and the name stuck. In some cases, families moved into these unfinished buildings, living without water, electricity, or windows, just to prove a point. They had nowhere else to go. One of the owners is a 55-year-old woman. She told reporters that she spent her entire life savings on a home that still had bare walls. There was no running water or gas, and every day she hauled heavy bottles of water up the stairs by hand. Her building had a makeshift outdoor toilet shared by over 20 people, and she isn't alone. Whenever owners of these houses would ask about construction delays, they were just met with excuse after excuse. Slowly, things got to be too much. Some of these citizens had their whole life savings invested in these unfinished projects, and they just couldn't take it anymore. So on July 1st, all of the home buyers from a project in central China published a letter saying that they would stop paying their mortgage payments to the bank unless construction restarted. Now, a project usually includes thousands of houses and are worth upwards of hundreds of millions of dollars. But at the end of the day, it was just one project in a nation of 1.6 billion people, so it wasn't even that big of a deal. But it didn't stop at just that one project. By the same evening, homebuyers from another project had announced the same mortgage boycott, and the movement started to spread across the nation. By July 12th, 100 projects had joined the boycott. And as of the writing of this script, over 300 projects across China are boycotting mortgage payments until construction resumes. Tens of thousands of people have willingly defaulted on their mortgages in hopes of getting the government's attention. People have also started taking to the streets to protest these construction delays. After the Tiananmen Square massacre, organized defiance like this it's pretty rare. And it's getting worse every single year. The CCP keeps deleting videos from social media. Protesters are dragged away, never to be seen again. And yet, people keep coming out, stronger than last time. What's even more concerning is that once the real estate got in trouble, people turned to banks to take out cash just to be safe. But even that was impossible, because the banks started freezing accounts, and somehow the money vanished, and with no one to answer to the public. One of the big differences between 2008 and the current situation in China is that the majority of these loans are collateralized by houses that are not yet built. A way you can
not yet built. People are paying mortgages on houses that aren't even built. That's crazy. All right, built. Last part.
So banks can't just repossess the house when someone defaults and cuts their losses. Banks are being forced to eat these losses. And if the defaults keep growing, there's a chance that big banks might fold. One of the big four banks in China has already limited people's withdrawals. I'm sure most of you know how the modern banking system works, but here's a quick overview for everyone else. Banks usually loan the money that depositors deposit and hope.
Wait a minute. China is going to get desperate and start invading? That's a pretty bold statement. That's pretty bold. But not unlikely. I think China does not care about their people, and they will allow their country to crash and burn. They are printing money like crazy. They do not care. Oh yeah, Taiwan is definitely first. And let me tell you something. If we lose Taiwan, it's over. And that will be the start of World War III. The first hot war will be when China goes to invade Taiwan. Oh yeah, they're going down. Everyone's going down. They'll just start printing more money. I agree. They will run their economy into the ground. They do not care. So if you think that China is coming up with a deal with the US, think again. China is printing money like the US the last 4 years. You can't just print money. It causes inflation. Exactly. And they don't care. They don't care about their people. They don't care about what happens. They will die on their hill. And so when people are like, oh yeah, they're going to negotiate and it's going to be fine and everything's going to be fine, think again. China will starve their people to death. Agreed. They will starve their people and they will send them off to war. And, you know, when you say that they'll get desperate and invade, I mean, yeah. No deal. I'm already looking at other avenues for my product. And I think that's the way to go about it. And possibly even starting that business in the United States, manufacturing, building that manufacturing plant in the United States might be it. And Big Baller, we should talk about that in Vegas, because I have ideas. They're not. This is what they have been waiting for. I think you're right. I think the drones are China. What do you mean? They're invading us already. Oh, the drones. I mean, I wouldn't say it's invading, but they're gathering intel for sure. Two years out for what? What do you mean? The Jersey drones. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, the drones. Yeah, the drones were from China. There was some of them. You know, there was actually some drones out here that crashed. I seen literally, you know, the SUV sized drones that were like flying and hovering around. I seen one. It was huge, and it was way, way far away out by this mountain. And it was just kind of hovering there. And I was like, holy crap, like I need to get my phone out and record this. And it was just too far away. I couldn't really see it. And by the time I got my phone out, it literally, there was like a helicopter that like came by, and it literally fell out of the sky. And then as I'm driving down, I'm in an Uber when this is happening. And as we're driving down, I'm like, hey, look at, did you see the drone over there? And they're like, no, I didn't see it. And then you just saw this big billow of smoke right where it happened. And so it obviously was like some kind of a crash that happened. Maybe it got shot down by the helicopter. I don't know. But it was definitely out by one of the military bases where this happened. Oh, I think they're everywhere. You're surprised I didn't shoot it? No, I'm not going to do that. Oh no. I think the military did that for me. China is known around the world to be the thief of the world. They steal everything and forget AI is the future. They're freaking out because the US is the leader. Buckle up, people. Well, I don't know, like, isn't NVIDIA there? NVIDIA's in China, isn't it? All of the GPUs for AI come out of China. So keep that in mind. You know, one of, I think it's Red Fred. Red Fred is one of our watchers. And I think it was him, sent me some images of the Bitcoin mines that he works on. He does, I forget what it was, like computer something. And dude, these freaking Bitcoin mining machines that they've got are the size of buildings. China might use their nukes when provoked with starvation. I don't think anyone's going to be using nukes. I think they have newer, better technology. We just know nukes to be the most powerful thing. I think they're using weather and heat rays and all kinds of different things that we just don't even know about. Have you all seen the new one-man drones? They look like the Jetsons mobile. Yeah, they have one. It's a motorcycle type thing, and it's turbine jet powered, and it looks like one of the speed racer things from Star Wars. All right, let's finish this video real quick, and we'll jump down into the rabbit hole.
Hope to earn interest on it to make a profit. Usually the reserve requirement is set by the central banks. Let's say that's, I don't know, 10%. That means whenever a bank gets $100 in deposits, they are only required to keep $10 in the vault. And they can loan out $90 and charge interest on it. So this is just a very simplified example, but these types of transactions happen millions of times over and over again in an economy. And that's basically how the modern banking system works. For every $100 in deposits, banks are able to create about $1,000 of money in circulation.
So I'm going to rewind this back a little bit. Listen to this, okay? This is why we have, same with China, same thing happens here in the United States, okay? And this is where inflation comes from. This counts for 2/3 of the inflation in the United States. And this is why they're not going to lower interest rates. Can we talk about what to stockpile? I'm blindly buying everything. Yes, we're going to talk about that for sure.
For every 100 works.
All right, so listen
Times
up.
over and over again in an economy. And that's basically how the modern banking system works. For every $100 in deposits, banks are able to create about $1,000 of money in circulation. Now, the system is actually pretty great. In the past century, a lot of economic growth is in part thanks to this fractional reserve banking. But the only way the system works is if depositors have trust in the bank's ability to keep their money safe. Now, if too many of these loans that banks are giving out become worthless, then that trust starts to erode. This is why the US enacted strict lending regulations after the 2008 crisis, so banks are careful with who they try to lend to. Now, as more and more home buyers are defaulting on their loans, Chinese banks are also at risk of losing the trust of their depositors. Putting limits on the withdrawals definitely does not help with building that trust. If too many people start pulling out their deposits from the banks, then a bank run happens, and banks collapse because of that. For example, in Zhengzhou, over 1,000 people gathered outside a branch of the People's Bank of China after a rural bank froze deposits worth billions. It turns out even the banks had been making shady bets, illegally and quietly funneling money into real estate projects and local government financing arms. When those investments went bad, small lenders started collapsing. To contain the damage, regulators merged or bailed out hundreds of rural banks. In 2024 alone, over 290 small lenders were absorbed into larger state-run institutions. That's a record-level cleanup. China's rural banking sector has about 3,700 institutions. With 57 trillion yuan, that's about 7.8 trillion US dollars in assets. Roughly 1/3 the size of the entire US banking system. But here's the problem. No one really knows how much of that money has already been gambled away on risky real estate deals. Even state banks are sitting on trillions in loans. And the smallest sign of widespread defaults could set off a chain reaction of panic and collapse. This is where the headache lies for the CCP. The Chinese economy is heavily reliant on its financial and real estate sectors. Real estate represents about 30% of China's GDP, while 7 out of the 10 companies in China are financial institutions. Initially, the CCP was strictly against bailing out failing companies, as they didn't want to promote risky business behavior in China. But now that they're realizing that this has the potential to tank the government, CCP officials are changing their tone when it comes to these bailouts. Other industries really aren't doing much better. Business profits are plunging, and millions of jobs are vanishing. In 2024, Chinese industrial profits fell 3.3%, the 3rd straight year in decline. Automakers saw profits drop by 8%. Tech built. So banks can't just reap.
All right. So that's all there is. That's all there is. There was more to this, but most of it's been removed by TikTok. There's missing pieces to it too. So China's keeping a lot of it under wraps, you know. So keep that in mind. So let's go down another rabbit hole. But first, before we do that, let's talk about being prepared. Okay? Guinea Marie wants to know what we need to do to prepare. All right? And let me tell you this. There's only so much you can do. Look at we're dropping. Look at that. Just like I said we would. I think 208 before we see it turn green again. At least. So we need to be prepared. And I was on TikTok. You all know I got banned. That's why we're here. And I emailed TikTok and I was like, hey, like, why am I being banned? What guidelines did I break? And they said that it's for misinformation. I'm like, okay, well, can you tell me what it was that I said so that I don't get banned again? Like, and they refused to tell me what it is that I said and why. And there's no resolve. My appeals have not been approved, and I'm just off. They don't tell you why you get banned. It's BS. Yeah. How am I supposed to know if I'm giving out misinformation in quotations? Then what is it that I said that is misinformation so that I can know what we're talking about? But they know that what I'm saying was not misinformation. I had 9 articles open about cyber attacks that have happened recently and in the past, and none of that was misinformation. It was all backed by news articles. Everything that I state is always backed by some news article. But if it goes against their narrative, they don't care. They do not care. TikTok needs to be an American company or their history. I agree. And I don't think that they're going to give up TikTok. And what's going to happen is it will go bye-bye one day. It will be gone. And that's why we're here. That's why we have this second platform, because I see the writing on the wall. TikTok is something that is unsustainable. So we had to migrate here. We had to do this out of necessity. And it's a good thing that I did it when we did it, because there wouldn't be a show right now. This whole week would be dead airtime. Obviously, I'd have more time to work on the studio, but also at the same time, I'd be bleeding out more money with the construction. So it's nice to kind of spread it out a little bit. But it's crazy. I don't want to do TikTok anymore. The only reason I still continue to do it is because there's lots of people that watch the show that are still stuck on TikTok and they have not moved over yet. And so I'm trying to get as many people over as we can, because here on Twitch, it's solid. It's always the same people. Everyone that's signed up for Twitch is here. You're always here every show. Even if you come in late, TikTok seller, I'm talking to you. I know you be out there selling products on TikTok. I'm just messing with you, bro. But it's hard. It's hard for people to leave TikTok because it's very addicting. It's very addicting. And for those of you that are here, I appreciate you all very much. Because of you coming over here and coming to this side, we still have a platform. I just sent you $50. I know you're hurting. Oh, bro, I'm hurting bad. I was expecting to spend about 10K on this project, and we're in about 15K, and I still have more shit I got to buy, but we're almost done. We're almost done. And because the market's not pumping, I haven't been able to make trades to make that happen. So we're supported by viewers like you. Thank you all for your donations. Much appreciated. And if you do want to donate, you can send it to the donation link, or you can just send it to the Cash App or Venmo. It's right there. Thank you very much, Big Baller, for your donation. I appreciate you. You guys keep this show alive. We actually make money by getting donations. Trying to get money off these platforms, they take most of it. You know, I don't make anything from TikTok or Twitch. It all comes from viewers like you. Your donations are what's keeping this thing alive, and thank you all very much. TikTok gets like 40 views a minute and like 100 plus when there's news. Yeah, I agree. Let's see. Big Baller says, I will help you with Beer Gator to make a ton of money. Once it gets here, we'll kill it. I'm down with that. We're going to talk about that for sure. We come to the Vegas meet and greet, and I want to sit down. I want to talk about this and bring a business plan or something. Let's talk about it, because I'm down. I think we could open up our own factory, double dick, make our own product that we sell to ourselves. I think you're onto a really good idea, and it sounds like the only issue is the manufacturing of the product, and I see opportunity. I'm playing in the World Series of Poker. I'll be there for a month in June 2nd. I'll be in Vegas on June 2nd. for the meet and greet. So if you're there, I will see you there. Cool, man. We'll meet up. You're going to be there all month? Dude, that's awesome. I wish I was playing the World Series. That'd be awesome. I'd probably win. I don't ever play big games. I'll go in and I'll skim some money off the table and then I go. I have a hard time sitting. Even doing this show, I have to stand up every once in a while because my back is so fucked up. Like, I can't sit for those long hours, but I'm really good at it. I pay for every vacation I go on. When I go to the casino, I end up paying for the whole vacation. So I travel for free. I haven't even been traveling lately because I'm doing the show. All my money's going into building the studio and doing everything. But I think it's great. This has been one of my lifelong dreams, is to have this show. And that's part of why we're kind of doing the rabbit hole stuff too, because that's what the show was originally intended to be. Thank you. I love this show. I think it's great. And I know all of you that watch it, you guys love it too. And Guinea Marie, come out to Vegas. If you miss traveling, come to Vegas. I'd love to see you out here. I get that for some of you, that's a little hard to do. World Series of Poker is physically exhausting. It's a marathon. I know. That's why I'm like, ugh, I can't do it. And I'm better at tournament style. Tournament style, I win like every time. I'm either out like right away, or I'm in it to win it all the way to the end. So if I make it past the first round in a game of poker on a tournament style, I'm gonna win. I'm not sure about Vegas, but maybe it's my birthday and my daughter is 21 on June 1st. Oh, that's perfect. Vegas is the place to come when you're 21. That would be awesome. I'd love to meet your daughter, meet your family. Let's see if I can get a room to meet in at Caesars. I'm a 7-star. Nice. We could do a hotel party. Hotel room party. I can only do the meet and greet for a few hours. I will be in Vegas with my family. It's my daughter's birthday, so I'm taking her to Vegas. So I'll be there for a little while. We'll do a few hours or so, but I'm probably going to have to max it out at like 4 hours, and then I got to get back to things. I am a family man. All right. So let's talk about being prepared. Being prepared, guys. And that brings us to our next news article. This is from the Daily Mail. Tucker Carlson is stunned as ex-Bush official reveals U.S. has doomsday bunkers for elites. Let's watch it real quick.
One bite of 100% Angus beef.
Stupid ads.
One of the things I've looked at in the process of looking at where all this money is going is the underground base and city infrastructure and transportation system that's been built. And
I'm sorry?
Yes. So we have built an extraordinary number of underground bases and supposedly transportation systems. Some of these are some of these are documented as part of the national security infrastructure. I think there are many more. So,
in the United States?
In the United States, and all over the world.
Crazy.
Mining availability of staff.
So they are building these bases. It's a real thing. And let's watch this lady's TikTok about it.
This is crazy. A former Bush official claims that the United States spent $21 trillion building a secret underground city. Her name is Catherine Austin Fitts, and she formerly served as Bush's Assistant Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. And she says that the United States government built this in secret in case of a near extinction event for the rich and powerful. She claims that this isn't just some underground tunnel, but that this is a massive underground city across the United States with over 170 bases. She even says some are under the ocean and that they're all connected with transportation. Also said that this isn't some situation where there's like old tunnels and concrete, but that this is a luxury development made with everything that humans would want and need and have currently above ground in case they had to go down below. She started researching this in 2020 and says that on her website, missingmoney.solari.com, you can go and look at the actual government financials and make a decision whether or not this is true for yourself. Now, there have been theories about this for decades, so are we finally getting the proof? As always, let me know what you think about all of this down below. This is crazy.
Right.
A former...
So, they're building these underground cities. They exist. I've been in them. And they are luxurious. Like I said, they have Louis Vuitton and Starbucks and all this stuff. Uh-oh, we got disconnected. Are you guys still there? Did I lose you guys? It did freeze for a moment there. Tell you what, the suppression is real. It's actually... there's a lot of bad weather right now, and we have Starlink. So it did freeze. Do I need to start the video over again? Is it working? Can you guys hear me? Chime in if you're still there and you can hear me, or if it's frozen. Okay, it looks like we're back. Yeah, the sound did on our end, I think. All right. Yeah, we lost. Let me replay that video again, just in case. So we did lose signal. Let's start it over.
This is crazy. A former Bush official claims that the United States spent $21 trillion building a secret underground city. Her name is Catherine Austin Fitts, and she formerly served as Bush's Assistant Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. And she says that the United States government built this in secret in case of a near extinction event for the rich and powerful. She claims that this isn't just some underground tunnel, but that this is a massive underground city across the United States with over 170 bases.
I've been in these.
She even says some are under the ocean and that they're all connected with transportation. Also said that this isn't some situation where there's like old tunnels and concrete.
It's luxurious.
But this is a luxury development.
They have Louis
made with
Vuitton
everything
stores,
that humans would want
Gucci,
and need
Versace.
And have currently above ground in case
It's like
they had to
Caesar's
go
Palace's
down
Mall.
below.
That's why I want to
Started
do
researching this in
the show there.
And says that on her website, missingmoney.solari.com, you can go and look at the actual government financials and make a decision whether or not this is true for yourself. Now, there have been theories about this for decades, so are we finally getting the proof? As always, let me know what you think about all of this.
Yeah, the live dropped for a moment there. There's some pretty nasty weather, and that's the second part we're going to get into is the weather right now going on. Another rabbit hole, but we're going to talk about this underground city stuff, right? The elites are preparing for something. Okay? They've been building this stuff for years, whether it's going to happen or not. They're going to build it either way. Do I think they control the weather? I have proof. I have proof of it. I know they control the weather. They've been doing it for years. It's called cloud seeding. But we'll get into that in a minute. Let's talk about this underground stuff here. So as I told you, I've been in these underground cities and tunnels in LA. I've seen it firsthand. I've been there. Dubai did that and fucked it up, flooded everything. Well, there's the Dubai thing. They're saying that happened like 4 days after, but I don't believe it. And I think that was when it was a little bit newer technology. They're testing it. But there's some crazy things happening. Crazy things happening with the weather, and it could just be suppression. But you know what's crazy is we had like 10 people watching the show, and now we're up to almost 30 people watching the show because it glitched out the way it did. So let's talk about this underground cities, right? I've been in them. I've seen them firsthand, and they are luxurious. There are places that are, you know, service tunnels and things, and you know, not so nice. And then there are places that are very luxurious for the rich and powerful. And as you guys know, my background as an audio engineer, I worked in these places in Hollywood, and I've been in these places. So they're real. They do exist, and they're all over the country. I'm sure they're all over the world as well, and in the ocean, like she says. And that brings me to the Coronado story, okay? So Coronado Island, and at Hotel del Coronado, where I worked, there is like an underground labyrinth of, they're more like hallways, and there is a video of it on my TikTok. You'll have to find it. It says Lost in the Labyrinth, and I'm walking in that area. And I'm down in those sub walkways. And I'm telling you, some of these walkways are very small. Like you can reach up and touch the ceiling, and the walkways are not very wide. They're, you know, if you pass somebody in the hallway, you're gonna hit them in the shoulder. You know, you have to kind of scoot to the side to get through them. They are tight, small little areas that are like that. And then there are big open areas that are vast, and they're like fake outdoor skies and all of that. Everything I told you guys before. All those things exist. Okay. It's everything that they're speculating about. These are real places. So we 210 then going where? We're gonna have to watch and wait and see. I'm hoping by the end of the show, around 9 o'clock, we have more clarity, but we're gonna have to kind of watch. But I think we're basically starting to head down. But I think what we do is we price correct right here, and we bounce up and touch the top here again, and then we head and shoulders back down. And that would be this head and shoulders right here. I think that's what we see. So we're probably looking at a price correction once we hit about 205 at the lowest, probably like $2. And then we price correct back up. So I think we could hit $2 at least. Or 210 is it. It looks like we're starting to get some of that resistance there at 210, starting to wick up a little bit. How would it even be useful? Sure, it's useful. They can grow crops underwater without having any pesticides. They can do all kinds of things underwater. Underwater research. It can be safe from radiation in the ocean. Lots of things. Lots of reasons why. So, as you all know, Coronado Island was originally, Hotel del Coronado was a military installation, Fort Coronado, at one time. And I believe what they were looking for was like the Fountain of Youth originally when that was built, like over 100 years ago or something like that, right? And now the military runs all of that in San Diego. We have Camp Pendleton down there in San Diego, Oceanside. It's mostly military. That's where it's basically a nuclear hub. And one thing to know about Hotel del Coronado is it's on the beach, right at sea level. However, underneath the hotel is a vast catacomb system of hallways and walkways and different places and things, right? And I was like, how can this exist? How can I thought to myself, how am I underground right now when we're at sea level? Wouldn't this be underwater? And I was like really starting to like think about this stuff, right? And so I decided to, you know, me with my curious little mind that I have. And also I got lost. Okay. I didn't work there very often. I'm based out of LA, but sometimes I would work in San Diego just to, you know, be by the beach and catch the surfer vibe down there. But I didn't know my way around. And I'm looking for the PSAV office down in the catacombs, and I can't find it. And I get lost, and I made that video, Lost in the Labyrinth, and it's posted on my TikTok. If you go look at my old TikToks from way before the show started, from a few years back when I was still working, I posted that video. And that was the day I found this place. And I would have recorded it. My phone died. My phone literally died. That's part of, like, I was videoing that scene where I was at for the sole reason of trying to find, so I could reference back to it, because I was trying to find my way out, because I was lost. And I was down there for like 45 minutes to an hour trying to find my way out of there. And while I was lost down there, I stumbled onto this little door. There was a hallway, and it was very low ceiling, and it was like, it went down. It was sloped very steep. I wouldn't say like 45 degrees, but it was like almost like it was a little less steep than that, but it was like really steep, of like a hallway going down. And it's not stairs. It's like, you know, flat ground, and it's like concrete that you're walking on. And I'm going down this little hallway, and it's very long, and it's very skinny. Like I said, if you were to pass somebody in this hallway, you would have to like stand up against the wall and like kind of scoot past each other to get by. It's very, very small, and the ceilings were very low. Like you could reach up and touch the ceiling. Oh, we've been disconnected again. I know. Every time I'm talking about this, it keeps happening. Can you guys hear me again? Every time I say this exact same thing, we are losing connection. That is crazy. They're listening to it. They know what we're saying. We are getting, every time I'm telling you guys this information, stuff is getting disrupted. Yeah, I'm going to give it a minute. Give it a minute here. How about we do this? Should I stop the live, reboot, and we come back and finish the show? Or do you guys want to keep pressing on? All right, so you can hear right now. We're going to test this theory, but I have a feeling that every time I keep saying the exact same things, it keeps dropping. And there may be some type of manipulation happening here right now, or it's just the weather, you know? Occam's razor. So check this out. I'm in this little hallway, and like I said, it's very small hallway, and it's a very steep incline going down. It's someone listening, possibly. And mind you, this is at sea level. I should be underwater at this point. I should have been underwater way before that point, but I start going down this because I'm like, how low can this thing go? How deep could this be? Like the ocean is around us. I know I know. Hopefully you guys don't get disconnected again. If it keeps happening, we're gonna restart and we'll start over and we'll reboot. But we are having a bit of some technical issues. The IT guy said that everything was good to go, but I've still been having issues and it was supposed to be taken care of. So we're gonna address that with the IT guy after the show here. But it's been having some glitching for sure. Even when I first started the show, we were having glitching where the audio wouldn't work. I don't know what it is. It could just be the weather. But I have a feeling that something needs to be updated or something. We didn't have the show for like 4 days. So anyway, I'm lost in the labyrinth. You guys can hear me, right? Everyone, send me a thumbs up. Everything's working, and I'll tell you the second half of this story. Just want to make sure that everyone can hear and I'm not talking to a wall. Are you guys there? Maybe no one's there. Okay, you can hear. We got one person can hear. All right. So down this hallway, I see this little wooden door. Little wooden door. And I mean, when I say little, I'd say opens up to like a little crawl space hole, like a little tight tunnel. And it's a wooden door. It's got a padlock on it, but the lock was off. And it was locked over, but not actually locked. Really delayed because of the lag. I think I should start the show over. If it's going to continue to be a problem, I'm going to reboot and we're going to have to pick up the show. I'm going to call the IT guy. Zonk's not having any issues. Interesting. All right, no answer. All right, if I get them in here, then I need the IT guy. We've been having OBS issues since we started the show, and it was supposed to be updated.
What?
It's not working.
Yesterday.
Yeah, it's not working today. I'm on the edge of my seat here. Continue. All right. So, yeah, it's not lagging, but we're like 30 seconds behind you. That's why we are responding late. Gotcha. Okay. There's obviously some kind of issue happening. So I'm going to have the IT guy fix it after the show. All right. Edge of your seats. This little door, little wooden door. And when I say wooden door, let me describe this to you. It's like wooden planks that I'd say are over 100 years old. And the reason I know this to be is because it was put together with nails, and the nails are square-headed nails, like they were hammered by a blacksmith. Old. Okay? Old little wooden door, and then it's got a hasp on it. A hasp is like a latch lock. And that was newer and was installed with screws and put on this little door. And the lock was just, the padlock was put on it, but it was just like turned over. It was not actually locked. And, we do a lot of that kind of stuff because like when we're working on things, we just leave it unlocked, because why go back to and fro and unlocking it all day long? It gets annoying. So who else would be down there other than people that are supposed to be down there? So they don't. It seems to be working right now. If we drop again, we need to either reboot or reinstall or do something with OBS because we're having issues. All right, so stand by. So, IT guys on site, just in case something happens here. So, I open up this little door, right? And mind you, it's like the ground is maybe 3 or 4 feet up from there. So the top of this little door is just higher than my chest, right? So I have to like kind of like hop up into this thing. And I would say it couldn't have been more than 2 feet by 2 feet wide, maybe 3. No, 3 feet would be too big. It was like 18 inches by 18 inches wide of a door and hole going in, right? And I open it up and it's like a hand dug tunnel, like something you would see like out of the Shawshank Redemption or something like that, where you can't seem to. Everything good? Gotcha. Is the router in the other room, or did it get moved? All right. So it's like this little Shawshank type hole. It looks like somebody dug it with a spoon, you know, and like you'd have to crawl into it, super, super tight, right? And curiosity got the best of me, so I hop up and I kind of like crawl into it, and I only get in, I'd say about 3 or 4 feet into it, and my feet are still kind of hanging out the back of this thing, and it's just a shaft going straight down, and it's like a black abyss. You can't see anything. And I was going to go back to the store and get some like glow sticks and try and drop them down there, and I never got back there. But I mean, this thing had to be several hundred feet down, straight down. And it looked like maybe it was like opening like down into a cavern or something. And it was so dark and so deep that even like my phone light couldn't even shine. And like it was, my phone was dead anyway. But like you couldn't shine any light down there and be able to see something. And I was like, what the heck is this? And mind you, we're at sea level. How can this go down? So there's like some type of like cave or something that's down there underneath the ocean right in that area. And I never got to go back to like figure out what it was, but I do know like that was in that catacombs area. There are several levels on the way down, and it's Atlantis. Who knows what it is? I don't know what it is. I'm not going to speculate on what it is, but I'm going to tell you what I saw with my own 2 eyes. And what I found really interesting is how can that be that exists at sea level where the ocean is? So I immediately assumed, I was like, okay, this has to be like some kind of underground cavern or something. And that building is built right on top of this thing. And it was, you know, a fortress that was built, you know, 100+ years ago, something like that. I don't quite know the hey, can you look up and see when Hotel del Coronado was built? But yeah, this place is old, guys. Super old. The elevator is made out of like wrought iron that's like hand hammered by a blacksmith. That's how freaking old this place is. What do you got for me? 1888. 1888. So it's over 100 years old. Over 100 years old. That's crazy. So I don't know what it was, but there's definitely places underground that exist, whether they're caverns or what. But I've always found that was like, yeah, 150 years. That's a long time. That's a long time for something to exist. And it's obviously built on top of that cavern there. And like I said, it was a military fortress that was built. So they obviously found something there and built it on top of it. But I always found it interesting that the catacombs existed there when there's no, you know, it's at sea level. So there's obviously some type of underground cavern system. And that had me thinking about like Carlsbad Caverns. That's, you know, I believe that's in Carlsbad by Oceanside, right? Carlsbad Caverns? Or is that in a different state? I can't remember. But there are caves and things there. So it is interesting. And the underground cities do exist. I think it's a war tunnel. I don't know, because it was the tunnel leading to the little spot was man-made, but the shaft going down was like a natural structure, like into a cave, like a cave-like structure. And I mean, it was deep. It was so deep. So I'm thinking, you know, the tunnel was put there as somewhat of an access to reach that area, but there's obviously something underneath Coronado, Hotel del Coronado. So very interesting. I did not see a Louis Vuitton there, but there's something going on there for sure, and that I think that's part of why the military has that place locked up so tight, and why there was a military fortress built on top of it 150 years ago. Something's there. Something's there for sure. And there's lots of places that are like that, that are natural occurring underground caves. And there's lots of man-made type caves. This is just normal. So to think that there are not underground cities and structures and things is crazy. To think that it's fake, because it's so real. Like, why wouldn't they have it, right? All right, so let's talk about the next rabbit hole. Oh shoot, did I close? No, I didn't. Okay, the next rabbit hole. Let's talk about the blue rain.
So I live here in the Central Valley, and it was raining a couple minutes ago. Can anyone explain?
New Mexico's Carlsbad, yeah.
Water. So I live here in the Central Valley, and it was raining.
So the blue rain. Do you see this stuff? The rain is blue. Here's another one.
Texas, what in the multiverse is going on here, y'all? I think I found the source of the blue rain, maybe, because this is what Texas saw just yesterday, and many people were seeing this eerie teal color in the sky, and it was so bright, right? There is this crop is flooded over here, and the color is reflecting off the flood that the crop has experienced. This is not no filter, y'all. Here comes another angle of it after it subsided a little bit, but the sky turned teal, clouds pitch black, and then tornadoes manifested out of this. And Texas experienced gold. Look at the incredible size of this hail ball that Texas experienced, y'all, throughout that whole eerie transaction with the universe, y'all. Look at this. And what else would you experience from that whole eerie atmosphere? Here goes another. So this looks like a giant blue sun in the atmosphere. Am I tripping now, y'all? Because that light looks so focused. It looks so focused. It's not lightning, it's not plasma or anything. That looks like a giant blue sphere in there, y'all. Am I tripping? If the sky ain't broken, it's trying to tell us a message, because, you know, it's coming with these horsemen that they call natural weather. So let me know what you guys think about this video. Nonetheless, the shift is here. Let's continue to get it. Peace in. Texas, what in the multiverse is going on here, y'all? I think
Check this out.
Hey, we're camping in this beautiful state park in Texas, and it's been raining, and the water that's coming out of the sky is blue. And it's not this tarp, because it's happening on this tarp too. Look at that. This is crazy. Are they chemtrailing us in Texas?
All right.
Hey, we're camping.
So let's talk about it. Blue rain, right? Why is this happening? I know exactly why it's happening. And if you read the news and you're paying attention, they tell us all these things before they happen. Okay? And this is what's happening right now. This is from the Daily Mail. Experiments to dim the sun in bid to curb global warming will be approved by the UK government within weeks. And this is the UK. Okay? And they have already started this in the United States. This is already happening. They've been testing this. And what they're trying to do is to reflect more of the sun off of the earth, because the earth is warming. We have had the highest temperatures recorded in like 100 years or something like that. Let's read into it. There's nothing quite like going for a walk on a bright spring day, but basking in the sunshine could soon be a thing of the past. That's because it has emerged that experts are planning on dimming the sun in a bid to curb global warming. Experts to reflect sun away from the earth will be given the green light by the government within weeks, the Telegraph reports. Outdoor trials could be injected aerosols into the atmosphere or brightening clouds to reflect sunshine. The Government Advanced Research and Innovation Agency has set aside $50 million for projects which will be announced in the coming weeks. Professor Mark Seams, program director of ARIA, said there would be small controlled outdoor experiments on particular approaches. We have strong requirements around the length of time of experiments can run for and their reversibility, and won't be funding the release of any toxic substances into the environment, he said. Yeah, they can do anything but cure cancer. I believe that. So this is it. Sulfate aerosols are put into the stratosphere, and then the sun's rays reflect off of the troposphere, and there are these marine clouds. So if you've been seeing more clouds, mind you, they're doing this in the UK, but they're also doing it in the United States as well. The UK is just starting. We've been doing this, and this is just the beginning of what they're releasing. Experts hope that by reflecting the sun back into space, they can curb the impact of global warming. They have the cure to cancer. They won't release because it makes more money to keep it. You know what the cure for cancer is? It's alkalinity in your water, changing the pH balance of your body. If you have a pH balance of 9.5, cancer cannot grow in your body. Cancer cannot grow if you have an alkalinity of 9.5, and the water we drink is 6 to 7 alkalinity. And so if you get Kangen water, then it's 9.5, and it changes the alkalinity of your body. So let's watch this video. Controversial methods to cool the earth by reflecting sunlight gain traction as global temperatures rise. So this is ABC News out of the United States. This is what they're doing here.
Ladies
and gentlemen,
Oh, we got an ad.
let me introduce me.
All right, we're not giving them free ad space, so we'll remove that. Let's see here. Let's see here.
Swaths of the planet are becoming uninhabitable. The largest mass migration in our planet's history is on the verge of happening. But what if there was a way to stop it all and cool our planet? Would humanity try it, and what would the consequences be? It's being called the world's fire escape plan. And in tonight's Prime Focus, Ginger Z shows us the promise and peril of the efforts to literally dim the sun.
It's a climate solution that seems both
3, 2, 1
fantasy, yet.
All right, hold on. The LA fires, I think they're linked with what happened with the Maui fires. I think there's some kind of focused heat ray type thing. Why do you think they're painting the roofs blue in China? The technology exists, and I think it's our own government. I think we're doing it to ourselves in order for gentrification, but we'll cover that in another show. Maybe if we have time today. But let's watch this video, and we can see what it is and why we're getting this blue rain, what it's coming from.
Almost too easy. Just reflect the sun and make it cooler on Earth. But could we do that? And more importantly, should we do that?
We've done such a poor job of geoengineering our climate with our carbon emissions over the last several hundred years that we now need to geoengineer it in a positive direction to offset that.
For more than 10 months, Earth's temperature has been the hottest on record. So now, ideas that were once considered outlandish are gaining momentum. We're talking about new scientific innovations on ways that we might manipulate our Earth to be cooler. On the east side of the San Francisco Bay, on deck the decommissioned USS Hornet, scientists from the University of Washington and a group called Silver Lining are giving us a glimpse at a first-of-its-kind outdoor study meant to develop a technology called marine cloud brightening.
Woo! Chilly up here. Good morning.
Good morning. Hi.
This is Command Center. What's happening here?
We're just discussing the weather condition of the...
And mind you, they're doing this in California. Okay, and the wind and weather takes it inland, and that's why Texas is experiencing this as well. So let's keep watching.
They to pick up the data that we are trying to measure.
Here, they're blowing tiny particles of salt water into the air.
In position.
Liquid check.
So someday, we may be able to intentionally cool the Earth.
Air on.
There is the plume.
We can see it. Yeah.
All of this to recreate something that humans have unintentionally been doing for more than a century.
If you look at satellite images, you can see where ships go over the ocean. The sulfur they're producing from their engines produce small particles in the atmosphere and often leave brightened cloud streaks. We call them ship tracks. What we would be doing is making a clean ship track out of sea salt.
While this experiment is super small and not meaning to brighten clouds yet, this is how it would work. Pressurized air mixes with water and salt concentrate. Then that salt water blows out of the head of a device like this and goes into the atmosphere.
What do you mean
the
people
perfectly sized sodium
this?
molecule?
This is literally the ABC News, and multiple news articles are doing this, and they are attempting to do these things. There's nothing that indicates that it's not happening. They're literally telling us that this is happening right now.
Molecule gives already existing stratocumulus clouds a boost, helping them attract more water. More water can make them brighter. When those clouds are brighter, they reflect more sunlight, which can cool the temperature at the surface.
Can it go to scale?
These things are really far from scale.
It would be
hundreds of millions potentially that you'd have to do?
It would be billions,
Billions,
for sure.
yeah.
Billions of dollars for something that will not help everyone. Marine cloud brightening's impact will be more local.
The first question I get is, what does this mean for where I live, for my community, for my region, for my country? What will the impacts look like for food security, for water security, for extreme events? More often than not, I don't have an answer. And that's because we haven't really seen sufficient research into impacts.
Silver Lining agrees. More voices are needed in this conversation on top of expanding the research.
There is a risk that if we do not do this right, with the right partnership, the right collaboration in the Global South, it could end up becoming knowledge that is solely held in the Global North.
Marine cloud brightening, though, not the only form of solar climate intervention. Something as simple as painting a parking lot or roof white. People are even talking about putting mirrors in space to actually reflect the sunlight. And then there's something called stratospheric aerosol injection.
So for example, humans might decide to put little aerosols, which are just tiny particles that fall slowly up into the upper atmosphere, where they would stay for a year or two, and they would reflect a little tiny bit of sunlight, like less than 1%, back to space.
Professor David Keith says he and others have done the research. Reflecting sunlight to cool the Earth from the stratosphere is possible.
Think about the fact that 1 kilogram of sulfur in the stratosphere can reflect as much sunlight as 1,000,000 kilograms of carbon dioxide trap as heat in the lower atmosphere. So there's this huge leverage. The big questions are all about who makes a decision, what the risks are, what the benefits are.
It's that part, not knowing the full extent of the risks, that has a lot of people upset that it's already happening.
I think it's completely unacceptable and absurd that this is actually happening. I think the challenge is when you try to do research well and you try to build governance frameworks, maybe it moves a little bit slower.
Slow is not the word that Luke Eisman and Andrew Song want to hear.
I'm ready to start packing whenever you are. Yeah. Why are all these researchers saying that more research is needed before we do? The urgency of the climate crisis, in my opinion, calls for quite a bit more direct action of all sorts.
They're already doing this stuff.
Perfect.
Yeah, buddy.
These two are on a mission to do just that themselves, out of the back of their RV.
Does the RV have a name?
I've called the hotspot Song Force 1.
Okay.
Today's a beautiful day to launch some balloons.
We drive to Luke's plot of land in the South Bay. Andrew and Luke run a company called Make Sunsets.
I designed and then 3D printed a nozzle for this that lets us just hook the balloon directly up.
Selling what they call a cooling credit. People pay them to inject sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere.
The goal is to get it up to 66,000 feet.
Exactly.
3, 2, 1.
People are already paying them to do this. Private companies.
The team says they can track that sulfur dioxide. The goal? Getting it to fly above 60,000 feet, all the way to the stratosphere. That's nearly double the height that commercial airplanes fly. Once in the stratosphere, the balloon pops, and the sulfur dioxide is released. All those sulfur dioxide particles mix and spread. Each molecule reflects the sunlight. Put enough up there, and you could essentially dim the sun.
We're using sulfur dioxide. It's very well understood because volcanoes have emitted it for millennia.
What are we looking at to make a dent?
If you wanted to cool the Earth, say 0.5 degree centigrade, you'd want to put 1 or 2 million tons of sulfur into the stratosphere every year.
Make Sunsets has, in total, put less than 75 pounds of sulfur dioxide into the stratosphere over the last year.
What do you say to a critic who would say what they're doing is negligible and it's just a stunt?
It is negligible. Everything's negligible when it starts. If it was a stunt, we would have done it once and stopped. And if it's negligible and it's a stunt, then they shouldn't care.
But people do care. In 2023, the White House put out a report highlighting the importance of researching solar radiation modification. With pushback growing, some states, like Tennessee, are even considering laws to ban solar geoengineering.
We're not going to allow injection of chemicals into the air in Tennessee.
I want people to know that this conversation is happening. I want them to know that this idea exists.
Suchi Talati is fighting to make sure that the people most impacted by climate change have a seat at this table.
The idea that someone individually or unilaterally would make that decision for the rest of the world is unacceptable to me, especially when that's coming from the perch of privilege, because that's what colonialism is. We have constructed entire economies and agricultural food output systems based on how these systems work. And so when we think about solar geoengineering interacting with them and potentially disrupting them, people get really scared.
But at this point of our climate crisis, isn't it risk versus risk?
The CO2 from our past emissions is in the atmosphere, and it's causing real harm to humans today. Solar geoengineering could reduce some of that damage in the future.
But we don't know
and solar geoengineering will bring its own risks.
what will happen because of it.
Despite the
That's the
controversy,
issue.
Luke and Andrew say we don't have
And
time
they're
to
just
waste.
doing it.
Sorry, I'm kind of getting teared up because I'm thinking about my kids. It's just, it's something that like I hope more people learn about this, and they do the research. I think people's minds will start shifting.
We are in a nonstop carbon party. Global levels of greenhouse gases have gone up every year of our lives. Until that changes, we can't even contemplate anything other than way more radical action than we're doing.
Whether the idea is to reflect the sun with aerosols or brighten our clouds, the power of us will determine what happens next.
Solar geoengineering, from my perspective, was never an idea to solve climate change or address the actual problem, but we also don't have a lot of ideas right now on what to do around impacts. And so when we look at the core of the problem, emissions, the fossil fuel industry, we absolutely need to get to net zero, and that is the priority.
Our thanks to Ginger Z for that.
So, if you're wondering where the blue rain is coming from, that's more than likely where it comes from. But is it nefarious? That is the question. A bit of fun. Is it nefarious? Is what they're doing what they're actually say they're doing? Is who knows? Who knows? We don't know. But what we do know is they are doing this. They are injecting these aerosols into the sky, and now we're having blue rain, having storms and things happening. So that's probably the explanation. They literally told us that they're doing it. They've been doing it. These are private companies that there is no legislation to tell them that they can't do it. Some states are trying to block it, but we don't know. We don't know how long they've been doing this or how often. We don't know too much. The only thing that we do know is that is more than likely where the blue rain's coming from. So that was a little bit of fun. Let's get back to the charts and take a look at what's going on. Looks like we're here at that 210 mark. And that is a strong little spot here at 210, but I'm assuming we're going to break through it. We'll probably break below. Let's take a look at the 1 minute. So we are moving away from the blue line up here and falling lower each given moment. It's taken some time for it to happen, but we're headed down. I think we'll probably see 208 to 205. And we could come down here and double bottom at about 209 and then start heading back up. But it looks like we're headed down. And that would put us in this head and shoulders formation. Okay, we had this micro head and shoulders that played out here, but there's also this macro one. And so we'll more than likely drop to about where we're at now, and then probably see another push up to, I'd say, 215. 215 would be where we go, and then we fall down hard. We forgot about what to stockpile. Yeah, let's talk about it. Water. You need to have water. You need to have food. So So some people, you know, you don't have space for water, but let me tell you something. Have you ever, yeah, canned food, non-perishables, but understand that these products, you know, canned food, ramen, things like that, during the pandemic, we had similar things on the shelves became non-existent. They weren't there because they were all being bought up. This happened before in the pandemic, and I think we're going to see worse than what we saw in the pandemic with supply chain disruption. So, you know, why do I think that? Because during the pandemic, we didn't have tariffs. We still had things coming in. It was just because businesses were closed for a little while. If you thought that supply chain disruption was bad, now we're literally getting nothing. And we're seeing empty train cars. Empty train cars on the daily. It still costs the same amount of money to send a train across the country if it's sending just a few cargo things, you know, what are those 40-foot containers full of stuff? Normally those trains are, you know, a mile long, and now they've got maybe 4 or 5 carts on them, empty containers. So the cost of moving goods has gone up because there's less goods to move. And it's going to be worse because this is every country in the world has some sort of tariff on it now. Some of them have negotiated, but it's like literally a handful out of like over 80 countries have tariffs on them now. And most of what we get in the United States and around the world and other places as well comes from China. And we're not getting those products anymore. The cargo ships in China are backed up, and all of the cargo is just sitting there, and they're going through it trying to salvage what they can. But nothing's going out, nothing's leaving. And because of that, it's going to cause people not only to panic buy, but I mean, they're buying things, you know, they're showing that GDP is going up because people are buying more things, but it's because of, just like me building this studio, I'm buying things that I don't need now because I know I'm going to need them later, but they're going to be too expensive to get later. It's going to be too hard to get them. Not even just expensive. You're not going to be able to find it. You're not going to be able to get them. And during the pandemic, we saw that non-perishables like ramen, beans, rice, canned goods were all bought up. Because people didn't know. With uncertainty comes panic buying, and people will buy up those things. I don't normally eat canned food. Should I buy it anyway? I mean, you got to do what you think is best. The idea of having canned food and dry goods like beans and rice is it has a long shelf life. You can buy canned food and you can store it for just in case. You can buy ramen and you can store it for a long period of time without it going bad. That's the whole purpose of those types of food. Yeah, if you can't use it, you can always donate it. I'm sure there's people that will eat it as well, you know? But it's good to have these things. And there's also emergency meal things that you can buy, and they're like a 5-gallon bucket, and it comes with like a month's supply of food, and it has a 20-year shelf life. Cisco, yeah. And I think you can buy those things at, you can get them at Costco. You can get them at Winco, Walmart, places like that. You can order them online, but it's good to have. I think every person should have, a 6-month supply of food that has long shelf life. And, in 20 years, when it's about to be no longer good, it should be replenished and used. And, you break it out and you eat it. A lot of it is just like Hamburger Helper and like freeze dried meat and things like that. So it's not the greatest food. It doesn't taste amazing, but it's not bad either. Another thing you can get is like MREs, meals ready to eat, military food. They're high in carbohydrates, I think it is. But yeah, Spam, but canned stuff. The idea is to have things that have a long shelf life so that way you can save it. You can put it away, you can put it on a shelf, you can put it in a cabinet and forget about it and leave it there and go on your daily life and live normally. But you have that there as a reserve in case something does happen, catastrophe does strike. If there is no food to buy, if supply chain disruption gets so bad that there aren't any food to have, and toilet paper, you should have a reserve of like toilet paper or have a backup plan. Baby wipes work. You can use those for like dry showers. But the main thing you need is food and water. And the other thing you need is communication. He's going to starve us to get us to give up freedom. I think China's going to do that. I think lots of countries are going to do that. It's the race to the bottom. For communication, for me, I have, like walkie-talkie radios. And you'd keep them in a Faraday bag or cage. You can use an old microwave as a Faraday box. If you take an old microwave and you throw a couple of walkie-talkie radios in there and you shut the door, that's a Faraday cage. Obviously, don't plug it in and turn them on with them in there. But the idea is, we're also having these solar storms that are happening that are like taking out the power. If it's not, cyber attacks, and what they are saying is it's solar storms, whatever it is, something is causing these disruptions of loss of power and communication. If you have, long range radios that go several miles, you can have, even if you just go to the store with family members, right? And people are panicking and, going crazy, and let's say phones are down and things like that. If you have radios, you can give a radio to a family member and have a radio and say, hey, I need you to go over here and get these things, and I'll meet you here at this place. And you have a way to communicate with them. It's a backup plan. It's a way to continue to go onward when things are uncertain. I keep radios. I was literally just talking about keeping them in an old microwave that I have, just to keep them safe, because I had one of them. I had 3 of them together. One of them just fried itself. It was sitting on the desk, and just from solar radiation or something, it had brand new batteries in it. It turned itself on, started doing crazy stuff, and depleted the batteries almost instantly, and was like making all kinds of weird noise and interference and all kinds of things. The other 2 were fine. It was weird. But the one like was acting up like crazy. I put new batteries in it, and it didn't want to work at first. And then after a little while, it kind of subsided and it was working fine. But, and that's kind of how these things work with the electronics. It can fry them. It can also just disrupt them momentarily. But food, water, and communication are the most valuable things to have in an emergency situation. And then the other thing would be something that you can conduct business with. You know, if there's no power and you need to buy goods, you can't use credit cards. You need to have some kind of cash. And you need to also be prepared that if this is a total financial reconstruction globally, that money, paper money, could become invaluable at some point. They could take things down to a level where people don't even want to use money anymore. And so you have to have something that you can use or barter with, or something of value, something that holds value. We had mentioned, you know, the gold Canadian coins. People will probably take gold if that happens, and that could become temporary. And that could also even be something that is, you know, short-lived. If they're going to collapse the entire financial system, there is a possibility that people won't even want to take gold. Do I think it'll be a permanent thing? No, I think it would be temporary and they would move into this new system or whatever. But in the short term, when all those things are happening, people are going to be panicking. They're going to be acting crazy. There's going to be unrest. There's going to be protests. There's going to be all kinds of craziness. And the idea is to shield yourself from those things. So have a backup plan, have a system, speak with your family and talk to them about what the plan is if this happens. Have a contingency where if the power does go out, this is our plan. Okay, plan A, we get out the generator, we go down to the gas station, we fill the cans, you know, whatever it may be. You may get to the gas station and there's no power at the gas station and they can't pump the gas. There's been many times out here where I live in the middle of nowhere and the power will go out and you cannot buy gas. You can't even go in the store. They literally close the doors to the stores. So you can't buy groceries. That's why you need to have, you know, food on hand, canned food, non-perishables. These are things that you just keep and store for just in case, because you never know. And we've been having these power outage problems. Power outages can happen anywhere in the world for any kind of reason. It could just be rain. Get propane tanks, the big ones, for a generator. Yeah, if you have a propane generator, and I mean, you can even just, there are makeshift ways to make things happen. You can literally just feed propane into an intake on a generator and run it that way. There are ways to make things happen. But yeah, have propane, have some briquettes, you know, ways to cook food. But even then, you don't have to cook food. And let me tell you something, if things got really bad, if things got real bad, and you're basically, you don't want to have human contact, you don't want them to find you because whatever you have, they're going to come try to take it. You're not going to want to be running generators. You're not going to be want to be building fires. You're going to want a way to, you're going to be eating cold beans. You know, you want a way to have these things without drawing attention to yourself. If the whole world goes dark and you're the only house with lights on, people are going to see that for miles. The idea is to be incognito, to not let people know what you have in that type of situation. And I do believe that there's a possibility that someday, maybe not in our lifetime, someday, somewhere, that it could get that bad where it's so bad that people are hungry and starving and in survival mode that they'll do anything they can to get what they need. And they will take whatever they have from you, even your life, to get what they need. And that's the real thing, is to be prepared for those situations. Have a way to have food, have a way to have water, have a way to communicate, have a way to defend yourself, and have a way to hide, and have a plan. Have a place set where if you get separated from family members or things like that, you know where to meet. That you have, hey, if something happens, we meet at this place. And no one else knows where it is, somewhere where it's not a lot of people. It's just good to be prepared, whether it happens or not. No one knows when, but there's always a lingering possibility. Exactly. And the idea is to just be prepared. Don't be scared. Don't be doom and gloomed. Go about your everyday, but have contingency plans. Have a system set up where if something should happen, this is what we do. And have that communication with your family so that everybody's on board with it, understands what the plan is, and how to execute it. Because that's another big part of it, is getting family and friends on board with these things. People don't like to believe that these things can happen to them. People don't want to hear it. They don't want to prepare for it. They want to act like it doesn't exist. They want to be ostriches and bury their heads in the sand. And those are the people that will be the ones that are desperate, that will be willing to take from you. And that's most people. In a lot of these situations, people die. So it's good to have a plan. Me and my daughter, that's it. She's prepared with me. Good for you guys. And be prepared as females that people will try to take advantage of, thinking that you may be weaker. So you have to be even more prepared. The idea is to, when these things happen, you don't have to go anywhere or do anything. You've already got what you need. You can sit at home and wait it out. That's the idea. And hope for the lights to come back on, hope for whatever to step in and make things better. But if it doesn't happen like that, you also have to have the skills to continue to survive on, even if the lights don't come back on, even if there is no government to defend you. If it's the freaking zombie apocalypse, who knows what it is? You know what I mean? The idea is to have a plan and have resources. Because whatever's coming is going to come. This is going to happen. I don't know what it is, but something's coming, whether it's a global reset, a financial reset, supply chain disruption. It's already happened. Let me tell you right now, the supply chain disruption is happening right now. And even if we come to a deal with China or all these other countries or whatever, and it happens tomorrow, the supply chain disruption has already started. We will not feel the effects of that disruption for, weeks or even months from now. And even if it gets fixed today, that disruption will still fall upon us. We will still feel that. It will take time for it to recover, just like it did in 2020. Do you think it's shady to go to Aruba? I'm serious. Aruba? I mean, I don't know. I don't think you can run from your problems. I think no matter where you go, you're going to find problems. I think the idea is to do what makes you happy, be where you are that makes you happy, be where you want to be. If Aruba's where you want to be there. If the United States is where you want to be there. Be where you want to be, but be prepared for anything to happen. Because you can't run from your problems. You can't run from anything. The problems will follow you to the ends of the earth. A earth rich might start it. What do you mean earth rich? Whatever it is that's going to happen, it could be nothing. It could just be a little bit of empty shells for a few weeks. Earth rift? What do you mean by earth rift? Like the shifting of the poles? Huge separation of the earth. I don't know. I think a lot of those things are far-fetched and speculative. But I mean, if things like that are happening, they're going to happen. No matter where you go, no matter what you do, you can't run from it. The idea is to live your life, live a full life, enjoy yourself, and don't base your life off of fear, but to be prepared. Have a backup plan, have resources, but live your life. Do what you love, enjoy. Don't live in fear. Because if you live in fear, that's not living at all. But be prepared. My wife hates it. I'm like always like, hey, we need to do this. We need to prepare this way. We need to tell the kids to stop eating the top ramen and start eating more perishable type foods and stuff. And we need to make sure that anything that has shelf life, stays on the shelf for now, because people are panic buying right now because of supply chain disruption. And she's like, well, I'll just go buy more top ramen. It's not a big deal. I'm like, you don't understand. Like, there could be no more top ramen to buy. That's the point, is the long shelf life type things. First goes the toilet paper, then goes the long shelf life products. That's the second thing that disappears off the shelf. So the idea is those things, don't use and consume them, keep them and hold them just in case you do need something that has a long shelf life. Don't burn through it just thinking I'll go get more, because that will be the next thing to go. And the toilet paper is already going. You should see the videos of the people at Costco. Let me see if I can pull one of these up. Let me see. Here we go.
Freaking massive. Something's going on. I mean, look at it. And it even snakes all the way from over there, back there, around here. I mean, it's going to take me literally more than a minute to walk all the way down here. In case there's any good samples. That's nuts. Insane.
Get toilet paper, paper towels. Bottled water. It's all, you notice everybody's shopping carts? Toilet paper, paper towels, bottled water. That's what they're buying up. Long lines of people buying all this stuff up. Even if there isn't a supply chain disruption for those items, people will buy them in panic buying just because they know other people are going to panic buy them. Yeah, and once it's gone, it's gone. There's only so much. And this happened in COVID, and people still didn't learn their lesson. They thought, oh, it's over. It ain't going to happen again for a long time. I don't need to worry about stocking up on anything. But here we are. Here we are, a few years later, and people are already panic buying again. And it's just because of tariffs. And you think people panic buying because of tariffs? What do you think they're going to do in the markets? They're going to panic sell. They're going to get their money out of the market so they can hold on to cash or buy toilet paper or whatever it is that they're going to buy and do. It's going to get bad before it gets worse. The supply chain disruption has already begun. It's going to get nasty. And now it could taper off and not be that bad or whatever, but I don't see that yet. I don't see any resolve yet. It's going to get worse, in my opinion. And the only reason I know it's going to get worse is because these disruptions take time. Things take time to come off the shelves, and they take time to get back on the shelves when there's disruptions. So we've been having this issue since February, and now here we are in May. We're just starting to feel the repercussions of it, and it hasn't even been resolved yet, and it's just going to get worse. So be prepared, guys. All right, that's it for the show. Have a plan, have some resources, have the ability to communicate with each other, and you'll be just fine. And don't forget, guys, we are supported by your donations. We do not make money off of TikTok or Twitch. All of our income comes from supporters and viewers like you. We are basically PBS. We thrive on your donations, and your donations have been keeping this business afloat. We're not really making much from it, but we're getting something. And as long as we're continuing to build on that, I'm going to continue to invest more into this. They defunded PBS. I know. That's why you guys got to give to this show, because there's no PBS to give to anymore. This is PBS now. It's decentralized. This is your news. We're not just covering the markets here. We're covering the news. We're covering current events and things that are happening. And we're making sure that we're ahead of the curve, because all of these things happening affect the markets. And if you don't think so, you've lost the plot. Thank you. See you tomorrow. I appreciate you and the show. No problem. I'm here to help. That's why I do this. I want to help people. I want things to get better. And by giving to you guys and you guys giving back, we are building a community and a strong army to combat the craziness. An upgraded PBS, right? It's entertainment, but also it's information. And it is good to hear different perspectives. You know, listen to everything, believe nothing, but always be prepared for anything. It is reality. We're living in this right now, and that's why I'm here. I'm here to sift through the garbage, because everything that you see on TikTok and on the news and on the TV, it's all there to lie to you. It's all there to manipulate you in a certain way, to get you to act a certain way. And I'm not here to do that. I'm here to give you the facts so that you can decide these things for yourself. And I'm here to tell you how I feel about it and what I'm doing. Yeah, this show is censored. And because of this show being censored is why it is so difficult to grow. And that's why we need your guys' support. When you guys support this show, you make it so that we don't need TikTok. We don't need these platforms. We're doing it on our own. And when you guys donate, I'm receiving 100% of that to put back into this business and continue to grow it. When you guys give on TikTok and these other platforms, they take 50% or more of that money most of the time. And I mean, generally all the time. On TikTok, I generally make like 40%. And then since we got banned, now I make 0% of the subscriptions for the month. So they take all that money, and it's in their best interest to do that. Why wouldn't they want to ban people that have lots of subscribers? They can take that money. Obviously, we still need to use TikTok as a way to grow and to reach more people. So those things stay in place. So continue to subscribe on TikTok and continue to engage, because that does help the algorithm so that we can reach more people. But the real way to help is to send donations. That's the way to do it, where it's more I can actually put into this. And that's why, you know, we're growing and we're building the studio and we're getting all this new equipment and stuff, is because I want to invest back into you guys, because I know that this is going to grow. Eventually we're going to get to a point where the studio's built and we have all the equipment we need and we're done and we're doing it, and it won't be such a big deal, and it'll be more about reaching new people. But right now I'm trying to return, you know, get a return on my investment, you know, get some of that money back. And the studio is going to be amazing. I'm thinking by next week, Monday next week, I'm thinking we'll have the cameras on. Cameras should be on next week, and you'll be able to see my face, and we'll be taking the show to the next level, hopefully. If not, I'd say 2 weeks. It all depends. I do know that this week is going to be super hectic and busy. But as soon as we can, like, I have the camera here. It's like sitting in front of me. I'm looking at it, but I don't have it on because it's just not ready. We're just not there yet, but it's so close. Oh, and I'm looking at in the studio right now. It's so beautiful. All the soundproofing and the equipment and the carpet and everything. It's beautiful. It looks like a professional soundstage, and I'm just like, oh my God, like we built this. You and I, we did this together. I remember when I was just a guy with a phone and a tablet. I was just a guy with a phone and a tablet that was speaking the truth, wasn't afraid to say it. And now here we are. We're a professional show. We're a professional show, and we're going to grow. Let's go. Never get rid of that switch. Nah, I still got it. It works slow. It works slow, so it's not. Now we have like tech. Now we have like, but I have to say, like, even with all this tech, like, man, like the technical issues with the sound and it dropping the stuff, it's been a pain in the butt. But however, I'm hoping by next week we'll be hardwired into the Starlink. So we won't be operating off of Wi-Fi anymore. So I'm hoping that helps with a lot of the issues. But I think today wasn't really the Wi-Fi. I think it's OBS. I think I need to maybe wipe this computer and start over again or something. I have a feeling that part of it comes from the news articles. Like, I'm looking at these news articles and I'm getting like malware or something like that, you know, viruses on the computer because of it. That's the only thing I can think about that it is the issue. So I'm working with the IT guy to mitigate all those issues, but it's been a challenge. It's been a bit of a struggle. And, you know, because we're working on the studio and we're moving equipment from here and there, it does make it a little bit difficult. So we are growing. It is getting better. It will get better over time. So be patient and be understanding. Soon, very soon, it should be much more fluid. Oh yeah, lots of red. Lots of red. Let's take one last look at the charts and then we'll call it a day. But it looks like we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days of red. 5 days, which means we are due for a green day. Green day, what's today? Today's Monday. I'd say by Tuesday or Wednesday, we should start moving back up to hit this line. So unless like crazy news happens and we waterfall down, you know, and we see these big red candles like this, I would say there's probably due for a price correction, and that would line up with our head and shoulders. But I would call that a risky trade with what's happening in the world right now and everything. I would say smart bet would be to just wait for that smart money entry zone. Wait to get in down here anywhere between 155 and 125. Somewhere down there is where we're going to end up hitting. And if we waterfall down and we just see a big candle, I'd say that we'd probably hit more like that 155 area. But if it takes us more time to get over here before we drop down, then I would definitely say we're looking at that 125 range. Wait for that wick, but be ready because it's fast. Oh yeah, that's why you got to have your limit orders set. Got to have your limit orders set so that way when it happens, boom, you hit it. And we've been hitting them. I think we got some time. I think we got maybe a month before we hit that bottom. Maybe a week. But we'll just have to keep an eye on it and just wait. But I'm thinking each one of these spots would be a nice little spot to buy. You know, 155, 145, 140, 130, 135, you know, all of them. And all of them. Why not? Because it will go up again. But I have a feeling that we're just going to freaking fall hard and maybe even blow past down this line and hit like that $1.75 range and then pick back up in a month or two. That lines up with the previous cycle. Something like this. Something like that. I'm guessing that's what we're going to see. And we'll hit here and here and here, and then we'll go up. 235 was the top. The goat was correct. Oh, yeah. 235 to the cent, baby. I told you there's a possibility for 147, but it was probably not going to happen. But we could keep an eye out for it. But 135 was it, baby. 135, and it wicked. So literally from here to here, called that 163 to 235. Beautiful wick to wick. It's something beautiful to keep an eye on. And let me tell you, these more macro predictions are much easier to make than these short-term ones. I post the short-term trades daily because there are people that are a little bit more advanced and they want to make those risky trades. That's on them. I will tell you, but I will tell you right now that those are going to be less accurate. But when we see these big formations happening, we know where they're going to hit and where they're going to end. That's easy. I can tell you where it's going to go. So if we come over here and we head and shoulders, baby, we're definitely going to see 175 again. We'll definitely see 175 again. And we'll go from there and we'll see what other marks it gets. But if we're headed for the line, I'm thinking, you know, I'm trying to be conservative because I feel like it doesn't want to go all the way down. Like, but I'm thinking the candle will close at like 155. Probably see the candle close there, like 155. But I bet you the wick breaks all the way into like 135. 130 even. 120. 125. But trying to catch those wicks is risky, you know? If you catch in the middle here, if you caught anywhere from 180 to 220, you did all right. You did all right. 10 the top around low twos. What do you mean? 210 would be the top? I don't know what you mean. I mean, like, before we bounce up again? I would say probably around the $2. Anywhere from $2 to 208, 210. And we kind of hit 210 right there. But I feel like it's going to go lower because this is trending downward. We've kind of been having higher shoulders on the upside. So maybe we shoulder up into like 220. I don't know. We're going to have to watch and see. Need more data. More data is needed. And don't forget, guys, if you have not signed up for the email list, you can get those email alerts for those daily TikTok price point videos and the videos I post, so that way you get that information immediately, because TikTok's algorithm, sometimes it just doesn't tell you until it's too late. And being ahead of the game is what makes you money. So having those alerts, if you're looking to make those more frequent trades and know when things are happening, or catch those red alerts where we're going down crazy or we're going up like crazy, because things could turn around and we just we're going to $3 or higher, you know? You're going to want to get those notifications before it's too late. So definitely sign up for the email list. And if you'd like to sign up for that, it's only $1.99 a month, and you can message me on TikTok as a deluxe subscriber and send me your email, and I will help you get that set up. All right, everyone, have a good day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your donations. Thank you for watching the show and being a part of what we're growing here every single day. Love you all. Have a good night.